across the world and across the time zones, whichever one you're watching us from this afternoon. It's live. Type 40, Doctor Who Day 2020. Happy Doctor Who Day, everybody. Welcome to Type 40 from the Spacebook for the Fandom podcast network. On this show, we've always taken an in-depth and close look at this beloved television series, this modern mythology, the spin-offs, the merchandise, even the fandom itself, which is you and me and everybody else, everybody we've got back here waiting to come on. And yes, Doctor Who's gone from homegrown family favourite right the way to entertainment legend, hasn't it? And shaped the landscape of science fiction and fantasy for 57 years to this very day along the way. Now, step into our TARDIS and share this journey and this party, this birthday party here with us on Type 40. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. How are we all? Good, I hope. Yes, it's another birthday rolls around. Doctor Who fans, we love an anniversary, don't we? There's one for every day of the year, but this is the special one. This is it. This is Doctor Who Day. I'm not quite sure when Doctor Who Day itself started, in inverted commas, but I'm really glad that it has. It's an abbreviated version of what we always used to call the anniversary. I think, yes, some of you out there, maybe we sort of marked it as the anniversary above other anniversaries in our day-to-day life that we probably should have been noting first and foremost. I don't know. I certainly did. Yes, on this show, we are live streaming to all of you, and this is for our podcast too. So it's going to go out right across the podcatchers for absolutely everybody to enjoy and to share, whether it goes right or whether it goes wrong, whatever they say and whatever happens. Happy birthday, Doctor Who, all of them. And happy birthday. Happy Doctor Who Day to all of you. Now, as always, I'm joined by Rosie, the House Dalek, here to keep an eye stalk on me, even on Doctor Who Day. And yes, I'm not on the hard stuff. I'm still on the squash, still on the soft drinks. But, doesn't mean to say I don't need Rosie to keep an eye on my toxic masculinity. But just in case she misses something, I know that she won't. Yes, it's Sheffield's original and the best of all the time, ladies. And looking the part, very much so today, Sarah Graham, our starry-eyed girl. Happy Doctor Who Day, Sarah.
Hello. Happy Doctor Who Day. Yes, I'm all decked out. I've got my T-shirt, I've got my scarf. Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy this as much as possible. All positive.
Yeah. Well, it's not just your scarf, it's the scarf, the iconic, the legendary Doctor Who scarf we've included on our artwork for this very episode. It's the team colours, isn't it? It's the proper team colours. And how long have you had that one? I don't think I've seen that before. I don't know. You got it?
I've had a couple of years. But it's not the full length, though. It's the short one because I am very small and I would look ridiculous.
You'd fall over. You'd look like one of the minions, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It'd be up to you.
You keep saying that you're not that short. You're not that short. I wonder. Well, I know. You see, I think I'm the odd one out here because I could be the only one of the panel who doesn't own their own Doctor Who scarf, because I know that the original Lunatic and my brother from another regeneration cycle, he's definitely got one. It's the other one, the burgundy one, which I'm still not sure which I prefer. We're going to ask him now. Happy Doctor Who Day, Simon Horton.
Well, hello there, folks. Yeah, happy Doctor Who Day. Or yeah, I haven't got I've got my Doctor Who, my proper Doctor Who logo. That's what I call a Doctor Who logo. That is. So maybe I'll go and get the burgundy scarf and pop it on a little bit later on. But you see, mine is the full length one, so it literally buries me. But that's great. I was out and about in London a couple of years ago wearing this scarf, and I was in Foyles bookstore, if anybody knows Foyles, and literally a random person just stopped me and said, "Love the scarf." They had no idea that it was a Doctor Who scarf at all, but they said, "I love the scarf." I mean, that's cool, isn't it? Everybody loves a long scarf, don't they?
They were just impressed with the serious layering that was going on.
I think they were probably just laughing the fact that I'm about this big in reality when you see me, and the scarf is this long, and it literally just winds round. But answering your question, Dan, I know I'm pretty sure I know when Doctor Who Day started, and I think it was the 50th anniversary. I think up until that point, it was always just the anniversary. And I think Doctor Who Day started to be talked about at the 50th anniversary. That's when I think it started. But of course,
that's true. Yeah,
I think that's when it was. But of course, I've got my holy grail here. This is my idea of an anniversary. This is the 20th anniversary. The Five Doctors artwork by Andrew Skilleter that heralded Five Doctors on the Radio Times. And this, this is so iconic and important to me. The 20th anniversary, the Five Doctors is just. That's the height of my Doctor Who love at that sort of time, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm not that different. For all that I love everything that's come since, that sort of burnt itself into my soul, really. I remember counting down, not just the days, I remember counting down the hours to the
It was so exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that Radio Times cover.
And yet, of course, the irony that we had to wait 2 days longer than America to see the Five Doctors. They got it on the anniversary day. We got it 2 days later. God, that was a nightmare at the time. It was so traumatic.
Why was that?
Because they tied it in. They wanted to tie the Five Doctors in with Children in Need that year. And so it went out on Children in Need night, which was obviously the Friday, 2 days after the anniversary. It was gutting as a British fan. There we go.
Well, so we're 2 scarves in already. Of course, I do have Rosie and all my various other bits and bobs. I've got my mug. But I know that he's definitely got a scarf, and I'm starting to wonder if he's got a baseball cap as well. Because yes, it's friend of the channel. Shaking his head at me already. Yes, it's our friend of the channel. It's the writer, the director, and the producer, and the big old mega geek himself, Ian David Diaz. Welcome back. Happy Doctor Who Day, Ian.
Sorry, the wrong show.
You were better to live long. You were better to live long and prosper, then, weren't you?
Yeah, well, wrong show. No, I didn't even know today was Doctor Who Day. Tell you the truth, and I'm a Doctor Who fan.
What?
So,
Ian!
What?
I know,
Get off the show. Be gone. Be gone.
It's not good at all. But you know what? Talking about the Five Doctors, I can honestly, truly say that I think the Five Doctors is better than the last anniversary that we had, the actual show itself. Yeah, because the Day of the Doctor. Because all the Doctors were given a good amount of time to demonstrate who they were and what they were within the structure of the story. With the 50th, it was all right. It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. But
you're not biased at all by John Hurt, though.
well, that was one of the problems I had with it. But the thing is, though, the only problem I had with the Five Doctors was that Tom wasn't in it, and that was it. The whole thing was really well done.
But what there is of Tom in there is great, and the way they use that, and what a godsend the Shard footage was that they had it that had never been screened. I mean, that was fantastic to have. I think the difference for me as well is that the Five Doctors definitely feels like an anniversary celebration, whereas the 50th one still just feels a bit like a regular Doctor Who story. It's just got another person in it. Do you know what I mean?
It's got that continuation. Yeah.
I see it in exactly the same place as the Five Doctors, but I think over the years, I think it does have its own sort of unique little place nestled between two. It doesn't seem like it belongs to either the series that was before, and well, it certainly doesn't belong to the series that came after us, because there was a new leading man. So it's sort of snuck in there at the centre of an entire week, 10 days worth of programming. I think it is 10 days, because I think Night of the Doctor came out 10 days before they had to rush it out, didn't they? Because the press were going to leak it. If
I was in charge of the 50th, it would be obviously Chris, Paul, and the other two. And then I would have had separate stories with them. Maybe team up Chris with Paul, and stuff like that. That's how I would have done.
And I think that would have been the dream team for the 50th. Yeah. But I still would have found a little corner to fit each of the existing Doctors in there somewhere, just as a cameo, just like Tom's was. Yeah. The others deserve that cameo as well.
I did.
Just a couple of minutes. That's all it needed.
It's got a strange feeling that there was a bias against classic Doctors for some reason. I mean, obviously they liked Tom and they brought Tom in, but I don't know. I just got that feeling.
It was a matter of the fact they'd only got so much screen time. They only got so much screen time. Only got so much run time. How could they divide up all that between?
Yeah, but they did. They did in the Five Doctors. They did it very well.
They did. You're right, Ed. Sorry, Sarah.
Sorry.
It was because you're all right. It was because the older Doctors obviously didn't look like they once did.
No, but
I know, but that's Tom. You know.
No. But
can of worms already, everybody. Can of worms.
We're talking about Paul and Chris. All right, Chris said no. Yeah. But Paul could have easily been in it. That's
Paul could have been in it.
We've said this before, but when I say I think they got a bias against the classic Doctors. That's what I mean. Paul is part of the classic Doctors, and so them not including him in the actual thing itself is a bit of a smack in the face as far as I'm concerned.
Paul could do it now. He looks amazing.
He's off again. He's off again, everybody. Let's just I actually kind of met Paul McGann at the weekend. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on.
Ooh,
show off.
Before we get too deep into that, let's connect because we are live on YouTube at the moment. We've got various people all saying hello, not just to members of the panel. Good afternoon, starry-eyed girl.
Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon to one another as well. Hail to the mighty, and it's good afternoons. It's everywhere. Charlotte Shields. Hello, Charlotte. We have Happy Doctor Who Day from Mega Neurobyte. That's what I love about YouTube. We get all these weird and wonderful calls.
See, Simon, no one wants to say hello to me and you, Simon. No one.
Hi, everyone.
That's because you've not got your scarf on.
But I can see the problem being has said agreed, Simon. I don't know what he's agreeing to or she's agreeing to, but thank you for agreeing anyway. Thanks, problem being.
Hello,
we want to know, everybody out there watching in the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, because we are streaming this direct as well to the Type 40 Facebook group. We want to know how you're spending this anniversary, this Doctor Who Day, the 57th. Let us know how you spend it. Keep it clean if you can. Because we've got Mega Neurobyte. He says, unsurprisingly, I'm painting Daleks again, currently adding the finishing touches to my Golden Emperor. That's not a euphemism. That's definitely not a euphemism. I've seen his figures. Woo! That's a genuine Emperor that he's painted up there. Send us the pictures. We'd love to see that. And people are waiting on trailers, I think, because it's actually the anniversary as we record this. People think there could be a trailer dropping later on. Charlotte's speculating here. Maybe not. We don't know. Nothing amazes me anymore. We haven't had one yet. Well, Series 13. No, not Series 13. The festive special that they keep calling the festive
it'll be the
I'm not talking about the Web of Fear trailer then. That's far more interesting.
Well, yes, we've got that on the list as well. I was, good afternoon, disaster area. Good afternoon, problem being. Good afternoon, everybody. Evolution of the geeks. My God, the geeks are evolving right in front of us, right in our chat. How privileged are we? So it's all going on here, all going on already. Keep it coming. And yes, let us know what you're up to within reason. Yes, we have, let's check this out.
Chris has said hello, so thank you, Chris.
Ian has said hello to me. Problem being has said hello, so cool.
We're in. We belong.
We're in.
Before I forget, because each and every edition of this show, of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast, is just a tap or two away on the device of your choice, available on any podcast you can name: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Podbean, the Podbean app, everywhere, and new on Pandora. If you're in America, I know that the Pandora app is really, really popular, a go-to place for podcasts. We're all over there too, with the Fandom Podcast Network. Of course, those brilliant people from the Fandom Podcast Network. We love them. We love working with them and getting this show out. Oh, yes. Anniversaries, everybody. There is an anniversary for everybody, I think, in Doctor Who history, whether it's the 50th, we could talk about the 50th, and the same with the 20th, but also the 30th had its own unique charms, didn't it?
You're on your own with this one, Dan.
I like it. It was the first one that I ever saw.
Oh, really?
So my expectations only went...
Well, yeah, they could only go up.
But yeah, because it blew my mind, because obviously my family all sat down and
for all the wrong reasons. Sorry,
we all sat down obviously and watched EastEnders. I grew up with it, so I was like, EastEnders, and I didn't know really what it was.
Absolutely,
it was
nobody knows what it is to this day.
That was absolute rubbish, that one.
Seriously.
Absolute rubbish.
I was on Twitter
have to
yesterday, and I saw a lot of love for it. It was quite surprising.
No, look, this is the thing.
Listen a moment, because I was talking to Samuel West, who plays the Rani's henchman in that. And
for God's
he was geeking out. He was geeking out over that. He was tweeting about it and saying, "Look, does this mean, even though I was in this, I took the gig because it was in between the two versions of Doctor Who. We never thought that Doctor Who was going to come back. So I leapt on this. I took the gig. But does it mean that I was in Doctor Who or not?" I said directly back to him, "Of course you are, Samuel."
No.
Yes.
Big grumpy.
It's canon. It is canon.
I'm with you, Dan.
For God's sakes, what is wrong with you people?
I have to say, it's written by one of my very good friends. In fact, it was written by a good friend who was a lunatic back in the day in the 80s. So I know the guy that wrote it. So I'm sorry to you, but it's not good. That's all I can say. I still love you, but it's not good.
It's Doctor Who Scarf Day, says Disaster Area here in the chat. And that we have leaving the original 7 out of the 50th felt okay, catering to the newer audience. However, using some of the old footage to show them might have been nice. That's
I agree.
But it's funny. I started today. I watched the 5-ish Doctors reboot.
That's brilliant.
It always puts a smile on my face.
Fabulous.
And to me, that's as important as the 50th and the 20th.
I agree totally, Sarah. It's a work of genius.
When I look back at these anniversaries, I've even got some fondness for the 40th anniversary, even though Doctor Who wasn't on, even though it was going to be a while until it came back. We were watching on UK Gold. That was, I think it was UK Gold, they did a whole weekend of Doctor Who goodies, old programming, and newly filmed interviews with various companions and doctors, and lots of behind-the-scenes compilations and things. It was a joy. We just heard at that point that Doctor Who would be coming back, so obviously that did sweeten it all a little bit. But I think, whether it's the 50th, the 40th, the 30th, the 20th, or even the 10th, for some of you people out there who maybe you remember the 3 Doctors being on originally, I sadly don't. But obviously the story itself, you remember?
The 3 Doctors.
Terrific. Absolutely terrific stuff. And again, they had each Doctor do their thing. Obviously, William Hartnell wasn't well and he was stuck in the thing, but that wasn't his fault because he wasn't well. But the other 2 Doctors, they had their own separate things in that show.
Absolutely.
And I loved how they played off each other.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's priceless. And of course, that's what has then fed into sort of future meetups with Doctors where there is this sort of antagonism. That was sort of created to a large extent by Pertwee and Troughton and didn't really exist beforehand. And it's now fed into the sort of lore that Doctors are always just a bit cranky when they get together, which is just great.
That didn't happen in the 50th, though, did they? They got on very well, those 2 Doctors, didn't they, together, Matt and David. They didn't really go to head with each other. In the 50th, right? They were okay with one another. They weren't really slagging each other off or anything like that. He said he had a big chin, but that was about it. But in the 3 Doctors, they both really didn't like each other at all, did they?
They didn't get on while they were making it as well, because Pat Troughton believed in sort of ad-libbing a lot, didn't he? And he took the general shape of the script and then just sort of ran with it. But John Pertwee was always on his mark, always word perfect, and so they clashed it.
The other problem was, of course, it was Pertwee's show, and so Pertwee was very proprietorial. His show, he didn't want another Doctor turning up in it. He wasn't happy about the idea at all.
He's one of me. Oh no. You're one of me.
The magic is whatever it is you're doing, don't go and watch the 3 Doctors now. Wait until the show's over, because you're not going to want to miss this. We've got some more love here for Dimensions in Time here from DJ Theta Sigma. Dimensions in Time.
Somebody out there had to love it.
Executed for the time, and a canonical piece of Doctor Who. Blue Chicken Studio to say hello there.
It is canon.
I don't see any reason why not.
And shot it out of a cannon. That's what they should have done.
Absolutely.
I think Problem Being's probably right there. Actually, maybe it's something that exists within the Matrix. It's just complete fantasy.
Problem Being here points out that he's got this theory that Dimensions in Time was actually in the land of make believe, or the land of fiction, maybe from the Mind Robber.
No, I think it's in the Matrix. I buy that it's in the Matrix.
Yeah, who knows? I think it can go wherever you want it to go. A disaster area. He's showing his age here, or he or she. Sorry, I remember the 10th anniversary and the Radio Times magazine special.
Oh, that Radio Times magazine special, the 10th and the 20th particularly. Again, that was just absolute nirvana for me. That 20th anniversary Radio Times special. I devoured it. I literally just sat and devoured that for weeks. So exciting.
Bloody hell, you're showing your age.
And we've got
I bought it last year.
And we go from one generation to another. Here we have MZ Leanne. That's Emma, of course it is. She's watching. Good evening, everyone. Looking for is evening already? Good God, it may well be. Good evening, everyone. Looking forward to Doctor Who watch along later with Jodie Whittaker and maybe a trailer. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy Doctor Who Day, Emma. It's great to hear from you as always. And Matt Potts here. You need to see some of the Dimensions in Time bloopers. They're much better.
They're true.
The initial show.
They are. I think they're out there on YouTube. I think you can find them on YouTube, actually.
The rabbi's in there, by the way.
Yes, we've got a message from the rabbi here. What? Dimensions in Time is not canon? And lots of exclamation marks. He agrees. I think the rabbi, if we say his name 3 times, he may well appear. What do you think? Do you want to say his name 3 times to see if it works?
Go on then.
Rabbi.
It's not bloody canon. Are you out of your mind? That on?
It is. It is.
No, it's not.
Canon.
I'm with the rabbi. I'm with the rabbi.
Please explain. Very bad models of Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell's head.
Exactly.
Supposed to actually be them? Like, no, none of this was canon. Like,
so in which case, the 5 Doctors isn't canon either, because that hasn't got William Hartnell. That's got a fake first Doctor.
No.
That's not canon.
Okay. If that's not why it isn't canon. It's not canon because it's after. Like, okay. It's meant to be a little joke skit.
That's
the 5 Doctors was meant to be a part of the show. This was
in which case, is Time Crash canon then?
That's an interesting question. That is an interesting. I would say Time Crash probably is canon.
No, you can't say that.
No. I'm talking about head canon. I'm talking about head canon. But again, I think the intention is everything. It was never intended to be a serious part of
Time Crash was done seriously and written quite well. So yes, I would say that's canon. But that Dimensions thing is absolute nonsense.
I feel I have to go.
Yeah, I don't know. What about the Lenny Henry sketch where he beats Pascal?
There's no
Curse of the Fatal Death canon.
I feel I have to step in here because absolute chaos already. Because the Star Trek fans out there, they did this with the animated show. They decided that they didn't like the animated show. It was too silly. Have they ever seen Star Trek? But yes, they decided they didn't like the animated show. It was way too silly. So, but they did like certain episodes of it. So they decided that Yesteryear was okay. We'll make that canon, and we'll make that one canon, and all that. My view is exactly the same.
It's the way fans interact. We fans do it. Yeah. But honestly, listen. Is Curse of the Fatal Death canon?
No, because there's no Doctor actors in it again.
So listen, how does that make a difference? You need a Doctor actor to make it canon? No, the first time a Doctor is the Doctor, then he's a Doctor.
You know what, right? Just the TV show is canon. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, well, for the people out there listening on the podcast, yes, you're quite right. You've heard the voice. The legend has appeared. It's Filibetkin, the rabbi from another planet. You've heard him on the podcast several times this year. We couldn't have a celebration of 2020, such as it has been on Type 40. Getting the rabbi back in. You made a hell of an impact on our show, my friend, particularly in the review of the Cybermen episodes, Ascension of the Cybermen. That very first time we got you on with Jazz Singh. Jazz, if you're watching, that was a great episode.
That's so bad. The only thing that's really remarkable about those episodes is they actually got worse as they went along. Right?
We have Nick Maloney in the chat, Nicholas Maloney. I don't know Nicholas, but great to have you here. I don't recognise the name. It's really good to see lots of new people here. Yes, and see how you're enjoying your Doctor Who days. Please let us know. Let us know some more. That's the way I feel about all these anniversary stories and all those little nuggets. If we accept one, we have to take them all.
I fundamentally disagree.
Dad, you sound like my dad. Feel like we're naughty children.
Shouldn't the intention be paramount? The intention of the makers should really be paramount. The intention, there's the ownership of it. BBC totally made Dimensions in Time. Also made Fatal Death. Also made the Victoria Wood sketch.
But the other thing you have to remember is that Dimensions in Time was actually made by the producer of Doctor Who.
He was thoroughly fired by that time after being screwed over royally by the BBC. He was a former producer, but it wasn't the producer.
No, he was still in charge of Doctor Who at that point. He was still the flag holder of Doctor Who at that point.
But Doctor Who had finished; they stopped the production by
yes,
then.
Absolutely. But JNT was still holding the reign.
Okay, look, because
the brand of Doctor Who.
Okay, I've got to interrupt at this point now. God, we've opened so many cans of worms. I tell you what, it's not so good for your eardrums, but it's going to be a great day for the recycling. When we take
I just want to get this straight. Andrew Beach is now one of the Time Lord. Is a Time Lord. That's basically what we're saying. Why was there a malice in the Queen Vic? I believe that it's EastEnders canon. Okay, that much I believe, and I do like the whole a bit. Listen, I love it. I like John Pertwee in it when he's like, "Madam, what year is this?" And it's like, "It's 1973."
We'll have to come back to that a little later on because we have a breaking news story, everybody. Who wants a bit of birthday breaking news? Exclusive, unique to us. It's been embargoed here. Stop with your negativity, Ian. Yes, so we're about, yes, this has been embargoed. We've got some exclusive news for you here on Type 40 Live. Just a little bit of a birthday treat. I'll be very interested to hear your reactions. I know one of you is really into this whole thing, and maybe this will pique your interest. I genuinely don't know about the rest of you, but I was somewhat dumbstruck when I saw this announcement. Is it nearly 4 o'clock? I'm wondering.
It's 4 o'clock.
4 on the dot.
It's 4 o'clock now. So, here we are. We can reveal exclusively on Type 40 Live that no other than Brian Blessed here is Omega in a brand new Doctor Who production. Audio drama here from Cutaway, from the makers of Cutaway Comics. Gareth Kavanagh, the Manchester-based comics imprint that has been exploding out the worlds of Doctor Who, is branching out into audio. And yes, they've gone for one of the big guns, one of British entertainment's most, I'd say, biggest name, well, certainly the biggest beard, and one of its best-known character actors, the mighty Brian Blessed, is taking the role of Omega, has originated by Stephen Thorne, of course, in The Three Doctors back in 1972-73. He looks like he's about to eat the screen there on this special promotional artwork that we've been sent along, and there is a press release to go with it. Who wants to hear the details?
I do.
Okay. Love Brian Blessed.
They're also doing a comic book, and they got John Ridgway doing the art, which I thought was a really clever idea.
It's funny you should say that. We've got something coming up with that in a little moment as well. So yes, here's the release. Yes, Cutaway Comics, Manchester's comics imprint exploring the worlds of Doctor Who, announces its first audio adaptation. Their latest title, Omega, has smashed its target and initial stretch goals as it goes into the last days of its Kickstarter. Announcing a final stretch goal, Cutaway Comics are launching an audio adaptation of Omega, written by the strip's author, Mark Griffiths, and starring Flash Gordon and I, Claudius actor Brian Blessed in the title role. Rogue god and stellar engineer Omega stokes chaos on the planet of Minos to escape his black hole prison. Will he destroy the universe in the process? Fresh from Bleak December's audio adaptation of cult horror film The Wicker Man, Brian will be taking on the role of the rogue god in this full cast adaptation of the hotly anticipated comic directed by Anthony D.P. Mann. Omega's co-creator, Bob Baker. Can we call Bob Baker a friend of the show now? I think we can, can't we?
I think you can.
Hi, Bob. Happy Doctor Who Day. And the same to you, Paul Tams, if you're listening and watching. I am delighted to hear that Brian has accepted the role of Omega. But who else but such an iconic acting legend could play him? Paul Tams and I have had him on the top of our wish list for K9's new projects for some time. So, yes, there's plans for Omega. We've got more here. Cutaway Comics publisher Gareth Kavanagh. Hi, Gareth. I know you watch the channel. Looking at something truly special for our final stretch goal. I was thinking who could have the stature to take on Stephen Thorne's dominating performance in Doctor Who's story featuring in the 1972-73 Doctor Who story featuring Omega's first appearance, The Three Doctors. Then one weekend I watched Flash Gordon and inspiration struck. Brian was interested in taking on the mantle of Omega, and I'm sure he will bring an iconic and powerful performance and produce something very special for our backers. The Omega audio will be available to backers in digital and physical formats, with physical copies available to those backing one of the merchandise packages. The Kickstarter ends Thursday, the 26th of November. That's in a couple of days' time. With available perks.
Can I ask a question?
How much is the goal?
When I've finished. The Kickstarter with available perks, including a unique opportunity to own a limited edition hardback of John Ridgway's black and white art for the series, and a new comic written by TV legend Bob Baker called Eldrad Must Live. So that's everything we've got. We do have all of this. If you want to get behind the Kickstarter, and if you want to find the website and get on this right away, and make sure that we get this happening, that we get to hear Brian Blessed as Omega, all of that will be in the description for this video. But yes, I hope you're as excited as I am. Simon, Brian Blessed taking Stephen Thorne's role. He's a legend, isn't he?
He's a legend in his own lunchtime. He's a genius. My God, come on. Jeez,
what's this all about? Somebody explain this to me. Right, so they're doing a Kickstarter for this. So in other words, nothing's confirmed?
No, it's not that. This is what it is. You have a thing called stretch goals in crowdfunding, right? Mm-hmm. I want to say it's my work. Wait, are you calling me? You're just making sure. Okay, let me tell you, our hot water heater stopped working yesterday, and it just got freaking freezing. I haven't had a hot shower in 2 days. I just heard the plumber arrived, and I thought my wife called me. That takes precedence over everything.
Even Doctor Who.
So explain this to me.
Was it crowdsourcing has something called stretch goals that say if we get up to 40,000, then we're unlocking this new goal.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't understand. Right, so this project has not been confirmed. It's not, the money's not there yet. This is what we're saying?
That's what I'm looking at their page right now and trying to work it out. How much I need to get there for the stretch goal.
All the details will be in the description. If anybody does have any questions, I'm sure there'll be more.
Oh, no, it is confirmed. It is confirmed. Okay, the good news is any backer can add a digital copy of Omega to the existing level for another £12.
Do they have the rights to do this, by the way?
The rights to Omega are owned by Bob Baker.
I see. Okay, now I understand. I'm just totally confused. Yeah.
Cutaway Comics are involved in various. They're involved with various copyright holders as regards to Doctor Who universe, establishing a range of comic books, fleshing out some of these characters. And using people like John Ridgway, one of the country's most most loved comic book artists and illustrators, and with this great history in Doctor Who lore, and of course, so does he. Brian Blessed, King Yrcanos in 1986's epic, The Trial of a Time Lord, and for a lot, he's overjoyed. He's always overjoyed to be doing whatever he's doing. I think he's just overjoyed every time he wakes up in the morning. But of course,
I can't think of anybody better to play Omega than Brian Blessed. I mean,
he's got the voice, he's got the presence.
He certainly has. It's just it's brilliant news, and on the anniversary as well, with 3 Doctors being the 10th anniversary story, it's great timing. I'm very excited by that.
I couldn't believe it, and you know when I look back, not just at the Trial of a Time Lord, but at Brian Blessed's career. Of course, he was this just feels so right because he was tapped to be the second Doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he was, and he turned it down. He famously turned it down.
Right.
I think he was offered a couple of times. I think he might have been offered it again at the time of Tom Baker, I think. But he certainly turned it down at least once, and has obviously sort of said since that he regrets turning it down, but you know, he had his reasons at the time.
Around the time that picture was taken, he was obviously a very young man, about 30 years of age, and they did go to him because he was a big star on Z-Cars at the time. I think he offered them, he gave them his pitch, how he would play the part, and his version of the story. You know, Brian Blessed's got his versions of all sorts of stories. He's a great storyteller, but his version of the story is that when he told them how he would play it, they recoiled, that he scared them to death, and he never heard another word about it ever again. So let's look back to the chat and see how that's gone down. Let's see who's got what to say. You can never have enough good stuff, Daniel Leach. I couldn't agree more. And yes, the Duncan Shaw reminds us in the chat, last time Omega featured in Doctor Who was the Arc of Infinity with the 5th Doctor. It was, although there have been a couple of great audios since, Time War stuff, and a brilliant 4-parter called Omega itself. What else have we got? He's been to the top of Everest, says the Talons of Wayne.
He has.
He has indeed. And of course, Lord Thoth reminding us one of his other various science fiction. Brian Blessed played Vargas in the second episode, actually it was the third, of Blake 7 there, as well as Space 1999 and The Sweeney, and pretty much every other TV show ever made. Yes, and he was
Flash Gordon.
He could have played.
He was in the Sweeney as well.
Yes, and as the Gareth mentions from Cutaway, it was the Flash Gordon performance that sort of inspired him to look at Brian Blessed for that part. Yeah, I'm really buzzing about this. I like the idea. We talked last week, didn't we, about on the show, on this channel, we talked last week about Big Finish at some length and how they put out a lot of content. And at the moment, I'd say that although there are other producers of audio sci-fi, they haven't really got much competition. So whilst
they really are the big people on the block. They created the space, I think, and they to a great extent, and they've worked it, and I think they own it. You know, I mean, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever, and everything goes down eventually. But yeah, they feel, but they're not. I mean, there are other companies. There's Caldor City. There's by Magic Bullet, but you get like 1 or 2 productions. You don't get like range upon range upon range that you do with Big Finish.
Yeah, I think this has got to be good for Big Finish. It's got to be good for listeners, people who like audio drama, who are invested in Doctor Who mythology, to build something else, stories that they can tell. They can spend a bit more time with these characters, and maybe even do one-offs too. I don't know. We've got some more stuff from Cutaway Comics coming up later on. But yeah, I was really quite excited by this.
It's a good idea. Look, doing an audio adaptation of a comic is a good idea. You know how I know it's a good idea? Because it's something I intended to do with not the current Indiegogo I got coming on, but the next one, right? It's like I always thought, like, if I can get to a certain goal, if I can get to like, I don't know, 50 grand, 100 grand, I would totally give do an audio adaptation of the book. And,
why do an audio? You could shoot something for real as a fan film, I guess.
What, with 10 grand, you reckon? Oh yeah, you right. You are. I forgot you know how to do it. We should talk.
Right, Ian.
Mega Who?
Do 10 grand budget.
Yes,
you did. What's the name? Bad Day for like 2 grand, right?
No, it was 8. It was 8. Yeah, it was 8.
That's it. Get blood from a stone. Get blood from a stone. Yeah, obviously. Thank you to Cutaway Comics and to Bob Baker and Paul Tams. Very best of luck with this project too. We do hope it all comes together and all of this happens and this universe opens up. I think it's very, very exciting. A lot of these characters are some of the ones that I love the most in the history of Doctor Who. Oh, here we are. Here's a little look at the comic. Here we've got some of the various what do they call them?
Covers.
Great and lovely art.
Variant covers.
Yeah, I like the art. Really good.
Oh, it's very 70s.
Yeah,
I'm liking that.
The actual cover's by John Ridgway, but I don't know who these two are by.
Yeah, I'll look it up for you. I'll just looking at it.
But they're very nice, and they're really building a whole line of products here. Which, I'm really supportive.
Do they sell well, the comics?
They haven't started yet. I think they get released. They get released very soon.
Listen was the first one. I'm not sure if that's out yet.
That's good.
And of course, the other thing to remember, of course, is Brian Blessed is a huge Doctor Who fan. He loves Doctor Who. It's his favourite show. He's very public at saying that.
So, whenever he says that, I would love to know what they think of the current era. That's always because, they can't say anything, be unprofessional, and say, "Oh, they're doing a terrible job," but they can't.
Maybe they love it.
I'm always intrigued.
See, we're keeping it positive. We're not. That name is not passing our lips today.
I will not.
I'll make a swear jar for you.
Very good, Sarah.
And he's a big trekker, is Brian Blessed. Here's Cutaway Comics Eldrad title, which was announced last week. Eldrad Must Live. Of course, Eldrad, the villain of The Hand of Fear. Also
Glyn
created
Houston in there.
So I don't know.
Glyn Houston, bottom right. That's brilliant to see Glyn Houston there.
It looks like could be a prequel story then.
Could be.
I don't know exactly where the story's going to go, but yeah, I thought that was really cool. It's got a sort of Incredible Hulk vibe going on as well, which I think is great fun. Right into comics lore, exactly as it should be. Because comics, if you get the comics audience invested in what you're doing, they're a very, very loyal crowd. And so, I really hope it comes together. I've got something else that I wanted to talk about as well. But talking about things going into print, Simon Horton, because what are you going to tell us about this?
I wonder where you were going with that for a minute.
It's what I'm looking at is the cover of the latest edition of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society titled Cosmic Mask. This is a long-standing publication that they put out now and again, a couple of times a year, I believe. Sometimes it takes a rest for a couple of years. But it's fan fiction, is it? Fan short stories and fan artwork, Simon. And I believe you're involved in this one.
No, I'm only lightly involved. It's very kind of you to mention it. I'm rather chuffed with what's in there. Yeah, it's a short story that I wrote called I think it's called Past Imperfect. I can't actually remember now. You've got me on the spot there, but it's a Fourth Doctor and Leela story that I wrote that they very kindly printed, and I'm really quite chuffed with it. I have to be honest. If anybody hasn't read it, go and have a look and tear it apart. I'm quite happy to take brickbats. But I'm quite chuffed with it, and I'm very grateful to the Appreciation Society for printing it. So thank you very much to Stephen Hatch.
Is this on the web or is it an actual?
It's a free download. You can get it for free.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, it's completely free. Go onto the Doctor Who Appreciation Society website, and there is a link there, and you just download. Are you allowed to comment
are you allowed to comment and stuff like that on there? Are you allowed to put comments?
I don't know actually. Probably not.
If I read your story and it's crap, I'm definitely gonna.
No, you can't. You can't comment.
just being evil there.
Congratulations!
Congratulations, sorry, I can't wait to read it.
Well done, Simon.
You never know. Some people might see that out there. They might pick me up. I'll do comics. I'll do audios. I'll write stuff. Hey! Give me stuff to do.
Yeah. Well, have a look at it, Gareth Kavanagh.
I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I'm available. I'll do stuff.
Have a read of that. I also want to say a quick hello to Graham Robertson as well, friend of the channel, certainly friend of Type 40 in the Spacebook and Teleport, Blake Seven's sister show, because that's his cover artwork there, and very beautiful. It's too great. Well done. Very impressed by this. So, how long was the writing process on your short story there, Simon?
Probably
1 day.
half an hour or so. No. I kept dipping in and out of it. So it's probably about a week, in all honesty, because to use that horrible term, which I absolutely detest. It's very timey-wimey. It's very Back
to the Future.
I'm going to go with it's paradoxical. It's not timey-wimey. It's paradoxical. And so I have to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
I actually tied my own self up in knots trying to, and I'm not. I'm going to let you into a secret now. I'm still not actually convinced I've got it right. My time paradoxical stuff might be way off. I was writing stuff down. I've got flow charts, working out who met. It's really complicated. But the reason I just got inspired was because I love Tom, obviously, and I love Louise Jameson as Leela, and I really wanted to write dialogue for Louise Jameson as Leela. And so I really, really enjoyed doing it. And I really wanted to write it in the style of sort of mid-70s Doctor Who. And thoroughly enjoyed doing it. I have to be honest.
Sounds good.
So Simon, you can put together a Doctor Who. Sorry, I'm getting it going on there.
And probably being as popped it in the chat. We've got a link here.
Is it still echoing?
Well done.
No,
so listen.
Thank you, Lee.
Write a comic, and crowdsource it. You could.
I should, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
You're right.
Like okay. The industry just fell apart, and that's the only thing anybody can do now, right?
You know what? I'm hopeless because I'm not very proactive. If somebody asks me to do something, I'll do it.
That's the difference with being a professional creator, a writer creator. Now you've got to be able to say.
I know.
And I hate it. Like But yeah, listen, I'm a carnival barker, which is like it's good for me. But that's really what you can totally do it. You can do something.
Well,
Doctor Who without.
I'm looking for someone to do CGI for my trailer. Anybody out there? Anybody out there?
For CGI wizards here to come and step in and help Ian David Dears on his next project. We've got a comment here from Chris Persia about Simon's story. Simon just threw it out over a cup of tea and worked and reworked it until it was a shining gem.
That's probably about right, actually. I don't know about the shining gem.
That's what you do.
But yeah, I did work it.
And
it had a few drafts, I'll say that.
So, Charlotte's got you down here as a typical storyteller here. Not being happy with this story sounds like a writer to me.
I am quite happy with it. Sorry, I am quite happy with it. I'm just not convinced that I actually got the time bit right.
Well, you gave it a shot.
Don't worry, Stephen Moffat is not going to worry me.
I'll tell you what you got wrong. Everyone's going to tell you.
We have a comment here from Eastlyn Burkholder, who's a regular in the chat as well. Doctor Who length scarves it was not an intentional costume design, but a glitch adopted and made fun. Yes, it was because the lady who
the name of the lady who's
Begonia Pope.
There we go.
There were no breaks on her knitting needles, were they? She just knitted up. They gave her a truckload of wool, I think, and she just kept going and kept going and kept going. And we got absolute magic. There's more. This isn't exclusive. Everybody else knows about this. There's more Doctor Who news broken, everybody. Do you want to see this? More audio drama, because, Big Finish, they've been going for 20 to 21 years now. They started their actual Doctor Who line with their main range, with the first release, The Sirens of Time, which, if you remember, was a multi-Doctor story with the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th Doctors. That was written by Nick Briggs, wasn't it? Well, next year, the main... Hiya, Nick. Happy Doctor Who Day. Next year, this line wraps up, doesn't it, with release 275, and they just announced what release 275 is going to be. It's called The End of the Beginning, and it's another multi-Doctor story starring Paul McGann with Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy there. That wraps up this long-running range in style. It says, who's it written by?
Robert Valentine yet.
What's that, sorry?
It's not even on their website yet.
Isn't it? Well, I've got hold of it. Yes. Robert Valentine has written this one. I've not heard of Robert, but...
no, he's done a few things. He's okay.
David Schofield and Kevin McNally from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and the Twin Dilemma, of course. Who can forget that? They're in the supporting cast.
Wasn't he in the Twin Dilemma? Who's the McNally in the Twin Dilemma?
That's it, Kevin McNally.
Is that it? What, is the Kevin McNally?
Yeah.
Yes, it certainly is. And he's at Pirates of the Caribbean, Downton Abbey, you name it. He's done it. There's a little bit about the plot here. The universe is in a state of crisis, facing destruction for a change from the results of a strange spatio-temporal event. And the Doctor is involved in 3 different incarnations, each caught in a deadly adventure scattered across time and space. The whole of creation is threatened, and someone is hunting the Doctor. The 3 incarnations of the Doctor must join together.
I wonder what's going on with Sylvester McCoy there. Why is he's in silhouette?
I think he's the one. I think he's the one who's pulling their strings. And I noticed they've got Paul McGann there back in his they've re-wigged him basically, haven't they?
Right. Yeah, I'll notice that as well.
Back in the Byron-esque look there. And later on, I understand our friends at Doctor Who Lockdown have got something special dropping out. I think it's between 5:15 and 5:30. Don't really know what that is. Doctor Who 57, that's all they're saying. But yeah, there's lots of goodies.
Who's dropping that? Who's that from?
That's Doctor Who Lockdown. That's Emily Cook and everybody else who's beavering away over there. I'm not sure what they've got coming up this time. But yeah, I thought you'd like to know about that. Saves you leaving the stream, doesn't it? Saves you turning it off to go and find out about it for yourselves. Yes, the Big Finish main range about to wrap up after all that time. Rabbi, you're a big Finish guy.
Not a minute too soon. Not a minute. Listen, this is a range that ran out of steam about a year ago, maybe more, and it's been dismal. It's been dismal. They've actually had the worst release they've ever done was been in that range about 2-3 months ago. It was just an unbelievably bad story. But yeah, listen, they're looking to move into these box sets, which I think is a good idea. I think they're much more invigorated about that, more excited about that. Main range is just so run out of steam. It's kind of like it's kind of embarrassing at this point. They should have just put it to bed a while ago. That's not the only news. We've had a bunch of news come out today.
Yeah, are you talking about this, Rabbi?
Indeed, I am.
Woo!
Although the trailer didn't inspire hope.
I loved the trailer. I thought the trailer was phenomenal.
But his head looked like it was on a stick, and it didn't look like his head. And I think it worked far worse than the faceless ones and Macra Terror.
I just think I was just really, really excited to hear that famous Patrick Troughton trailer that only exists in audio. Hear that,
there was a fan reconstruction of it, which was significantly better, significantly better. Right.
Okay.
So for those,
I'm glad they're putting this out. It's been a mystery. It's one episode they need to animate, right?
Yeah, I think we've been wondering about this for a little while because The Enemy of the World came out as a special edition a little while ago, didn't it? And yet now, yes, for anybody listening on the podcast, the Web of Fear is coming out as a special edition re-release as a Blu-ray and a DVD and as a steelbook. So this is part of the course now, but what they're doing to make up for the episode that still hasn't been recovered, it's been reanimated, hasn't it, and put back in there. Yeah, and I understand that the entire release is being filled out with a load of the usual kind of extras, Simon, of the kind of quality that we used to getting on these and the animated ones.
What's in the package? What else they're giving?
I think there's a making of and all the usual things like that. I haven't looked into it in great detail.
So when's the release date, Dan?
This one is out on the 1st of June next year.
Oh, that's
on the 1st of June. And we have, because that wasn't the only thing that did surprise me because I think we were all hoping, weren't we, that missing episode was going to turn up. Right. That final chunk before it would get re-released. But there was another one because steelbooks are becoming a bit of a cash cow for BBC Studios with Doctor Who, a way of getting older material that's been out once or twice out. And this was announced as well, wasn't it? A brand new steelbook of, funnily enough, we're talking about the 50th anniversary set stuff earlier on, Ian. It's all coming out again as a steelbook.
The thing that I was most excited with this is that finally in the UK, we can get a Blu-ray version of An Adventure in Space and Time, the Origins one. It's the first time it's been released. It's released in the US on Bluray, but it's never been released in the UK on Blu-ray. So that's what I'm most excited about. And it's got. There we go. Yeah, that's the UK. That's the US version.
Right.
I should step here.
The only version that was out for the UK was that big box set that they did with where it looked like the moment.
Oh, was it in there?
It was included in that one, but it's like ridiculously expensive.
It's a shame it's got that logo on it, though.
That's the one I've got, the big box set of the moment. Well, here we are. We're talking about the fact they put that logo there. It's on the spine, the logo that is the general house brand now for Doctor Who. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. I have to say,
to be honest.
He doesn't spoil the artwork, so
no,
not at all. I think it's discreet.
Honestly, I just it's discreet. I can live with it, but I can't stand that. It's infected everything. There's like this. It's like a cancer. That just goes freaking everywhere.
I agree.
You know what, Rabbi? The brand split, right? And they would have sold more items without that logo on it, and that's just the reality. That's just the fact of the situation. Mm-hmm. They would sell more without that logo on. The reason they insist that logo was on everything is so everything so this current era, which is awful, which we're not talking about because they're not bloody talking about it. It's like November 23rd. There's no freaking nothing. No. Really.
I've got just for the record, I've got nothing to say about that.
I know.
You enjoy the watch along. Anybody who's doing the watch along later on Twitter, enjoy that by all means. But I've got nothing to say about any of it. As regards the logo, how I look at it is the official Doctor Who Blu-ray sets. Those have been the highlight of the last couple of years for me of being a Doctor Who fan. I've gone from release to release to release. And Simon, we've talked about them on the show, and I now associate that logo with that range of Blu-rays. Nothing else. Sincerely, I don't. And I'm fine with that. It doesn't take away anything from anybody who may be enjoying anything else going on. But that's the box set logo to me now, and I do quite like it. Talking about
today, can I just...
the only thing that irks me is I'm a firm believer in whatever era it is, it should have that logo from that era.
Exactly.
I agree with you, and I always did agree with you up until they split the brand into two, right? They did the classic and then the contemporary. The contemporary logo always changes. That classic logo that they use, which is essentially the Pertwee logo.
Mm-hmm.
I've
got that on my T-shirt. I don't know if you can see
everything, right? It works with everything classic, and it just breaks my heart that they
talking about the classic brand. Talking about the classic brand, we have somebody about to join the chat who is a bit of an expert on this too, and he certainly subscribes to your feeling, Sarah, about the logos matching different releases, and he's long been somebody who's been whispering word of eventual re-releases for these Blu-ray sets. But for now, yes, maybe he'll talk a little bit about that. But you've probably guessed by now, it's our friend JT. Happy Doctor Who Day, JT.
Hello, JT.
Hello. How are we doing? Yes. And can I just say as well, welcome, Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
How
welcome
amazing
back to
is that
Doctor Who.
casting?
Yeah. Yes, were you surprised as well? We had a few wows here. People were surprised to find Brian Blessed heading up a new project like that.
He's from my neck of the woods as well, so yeah, the Yorkies are taking over.
What, do you live up a mountain somewhere, Sarah?
Yeah.
No, I'm surprised. Yes, and actually, when you think about it, because it has gone on record before that. Paul Tams and Bob Baker would have loved Stephen Thorne to come back to the role of Omega. Obviously, that can't happen now. But who else would you get to play Omega? So congratulations to Cutaway Comics and everybody there. A bit of a coup of a cast, and looking forward to hearing him chewing up the imaginary scenery.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Chew up your speakers, I tell you, that's what he'll do.
He'll love every single minute, and he'll make it a purchase worth having. He really will. I mean, he'll love it. Anyway, how are you lot?
Oh, we're
good.
Wonderful.
Having Doctor Who Day.
Not drunk yet. All on the soft stuff. How about you, JT?
Well, I don't drink.
Oh well, that's neither do I particularly. I have to say.
So
we've got a lot going on in the chat here. We've got Duncan Shaw asks, "Is the Rabbi a Time Lord from Gallifrey?" Well, he's from another planet. You still won't name that planet, will you, Rabbi?
Yeah, I will not. Listen. I don't want any humans going there. Look what you've done with the world. Really? It's like there's too much stuff going on. No, I'm not a Time Lord. But yeah, no.
You have the Mega Geek. You have more caps than I have shoes.
Yes, I do. I haven't got a Doctor Who cap though. I need to get one. Definitely.
Yes. That usually means that one appears in the post in no time.
It's coming.
Somebody, Eastlyn Burkholder's waving at JT.
Hello, Eastlyn. How are you doing?
Chris Persia says, I'm with Starry on that. The logo for the series should be on its relevant Blu-ray release. It's definitely a viable.
Well, that was the original plan. If we're talking, are we talking the Blu-ray box sets that you and Simon love? Yeah, that was the original plan. And I wish I'd kept the leaked. I was lucky I got leaked plans, the concept art. I've been trying to find them for you, and I think I must have pressed the delete button many years ago because I can't find them.
Them online. I think you can. If you hunt hard enough, you can actually find them online. I've definitely seen them online at some point. And I mean, we all agree. Absolutely, it should be the relevant logo, or at minimum, that sort of classic, the Pertwee logo that they were, as we've already said, using on the classic range. So I totally agree. What I think is a shame, and I have said this in the past, is that people. Rabbi, you are correct in that a lot of people are refusing to buy these box sets purely because of the logo. So it is guaranteed that they would simply have sold more had they put the classic logo on or a different logo, whatever, the relevant logo, it doesn't matter, just not the Jodie Whittaker logo. But what I think is a shame is those people that are not buying them purely because of the logo. Boy, they're really missing out on flipping fantastic.
Yeah, but as I mean, it's the principle of the thing.
I
right?
get it.
I mean, do you know what? Right, it's no mistake that's what they're doing. They went out of the way to put that logo on the classic Blu-rays when it should be the logo of that time, because they want to rub it in your face and say, "Look, Jodie's here." This is the way the Doctor's going.
I don't think that's what they're doing. I think it's a branding decision.
Yeah, I think it's branding.
Yeah, they just don't think they wanted a branding confusion. They want people to buy stuff, pick up stuff.
People don't buy it because of the logo.
They didn't think they would poison the world, did they? They didn't think they were going to do such a bad
it's not
job.
an illogical strategy to put everything under one logo. But I think in terms of Doctor Who, I think it has proven to be a mistake.
There's still time, because as I keep sort of alluding to, they are what they're called special editions, aren't they? I'm convinced that to make more money, they will bring out smaller versions in blue Amaray boxes with their appropriate logos as standard editions. I am convinced
you
that
can just download them from me for free, okay?
Something like that, yeah. That's exactly the sort of thing I think they will make sense. Obviously, that will have Davison's logo.
Just get in contact.
What still worries me as somebody who suffers from OCD, look, it really bothers me that one of these days they are going to change this Jodie Whittaker logo, and suddenly all of these are all going to be defunct because they'll change the logo on them. That's just going to be disastrous.
Of course it will happen.
I know, but it really bothers me. Now you've started with this logo, as much as I don't like it, you've got to finish, guys.
Well, they won't, because they did it with the VHSs, didn't they? Come on.
I know.
Do you remember?
But the difference with the Blu-ray box sets is they have very specially gone out to do them as this range of matching box sets. So if they mess it up now, they're going to get lynched.
We started with the diamond logo.
They're going to do that. But Simon, the solution is some smart man is going to sell stickers that you can then put over your match, and you won't be able to see it.
With the VHSs, they messed them up completely for those people that don't know VHS, because what they did is they started with the Tom Baker logo, the diamond logo, and then in the 1993 we happened to they changed it to that logo. If you can see that, all right.
Oh my God!
There it is on the spine there as well. I just happen to have this hanging around. Isn't that weird?
The thing is,
for the people watching, for the people who can't actually see this, JT's holding up a 1993 release there on VHS, where they adapted the diamond logo.
Look at the size of that. Look at that.
What you've got to remember is, back in the day, they weren't bothered about branding, and now branding. Not just for the BBC, branding in the world. Branding is everything. And so I don't think that they will mess up with the branding in the same way, because they know nowadays everybody knows the importance of branding and keeping it uniform.
With something like Doctor Who, it needs to be this is what they didn't realise. It needed to be at that moment an evolutionary process, and their entire ethos behind everything that they revised in 2017 into 2018 was baby goes out with the bathwater. That was their entire sort of ethos around it, and it was a big mistake, because all they gave people was a viable and justifiable and easy jumping off point, and they never saw that coming. And that's not something I say with relish. I like collecting this stuff as well, but I would have carried on with every range if they'd have carried on with the legacy.
Do you know what's really sad is that I didn't know it was Doctor Who Day today, right? And I'm a pretty big fan of Doctor Who, and we haven't got anything to celebrate it. There's nothing on TV. Well, as far as I know, anyway. And it's really sad that we're holding on to the small bits like Brian Blizzard and this and that, the other, and we're not getting something.
Watch that, Ian. Just go back and watch classic British
That's
television.
What I've been doing.
That's what I've been doing. That's all you need.
The thing is, I mean, this is the problem. We know we've been speaking about this for some time. You know, the fact is that as the sad thing is the TV show isn't relevant anymore.
Yes,
and listen, we can't change that.
We went through 15 years of no Fresh Who. This is nothing new. For those people who are liking the current era, get on with it. But we've got these. We've got these.
Yeah. I know, mate. I know.
Yeah, and also Doctor Who Day. Sorry, Sarah, but Doctor Who Day. That whole hashtag has only come about since I think the 50th anniversary down in London at the gig. I think it was that where it started because, of course, November the 23rd has been a day to celebrate for fans since 1963. Anyway.
I was just saying, I'm liking these like creative fan projects because to me it's, other people doing their own thing and in many cases might actually be doing it better. And I just think, they're keeping it alive.
Yeah, but it's sad. It's sad to think that, though, isn't it? That we're reduced to this.
But to be perfectly honest, it is the 57th anniversary. The BBC have never done anything apart from once every 10 years. And who would, in all honesty, who would expect them to? The general public sitting at home won't have a clue that it's Doctor Who Day and won't care.
Same here. I never knew. Until Dan told me.
Let's take a look at what's being said in the chat. We've got Duncan Shaw at the age of 54. I wish I could regenerate. I think he means. And yes, people are comparing. Yes, I've got all the VHSs still packed away, and they changed the logo after the McGann movie, if I remember rightly.
Absolutely right.
There's the talents of Wayne, Chiang, and somebody has noticed here. JT has more merchandise than my house has bricks.
And don't you forget it. Don't forget it. Thank you very much, Garbage. Nice Dalek. I've seen that before somewhere, actually, that Dalek. Have I met that Dalek? Garbage, have I met that Dalek at a convention? Do let me know. Are you in Britain? I'm sure I've seen that somewhere before, but the old memory cells are going now.
Yes, the rabbi whips out and he's back. And to prove it, he's here.
I don't know what I missed, but I just got cut off as I was saying to JT. I think this is worse. This is worse than the Wilderness years because at least you know something detrimental was being the face of Doctor Who at the time. Like I think that this is. We're moving into I think this. I can't believe they're making another season with it. I just can't believe they're doing it. But I think as we're moving into it, we're moving back into Doctor Who being embarrassing. The public perception of it, Doctor Who is just an embarrassing show.
We've been there some while, my friend.
Do you remember in 2005?
But there's lots to be proud of.
2 years that say it's cool, and this isn't in this way. But I wanted to ask you: did you ever see? Because I never saw it. There was an original design for the Blu-ray release of Sharda, which Clayton Hickman was really pissed off they didn't use.
Clayton,
and I've never seen it, and I heard it was fantastic.
It was better than what we got. I'm sorry, I'm looking around me. If I have it somewhere, I will dig it out for you. I'll just check the old
Pluto TV. Definitely. I should try it out.
We've got a message on screen at the moment, again from Duncan Shaw watching along. The Mega Geek. This is just for you, Ian. Try Pluto TV. They've got all of classic Doctor Who series on there all of the time. I only found out that I'd got Pluto TV around a week ago. It seems quite a unique thing. They seem to, it's like a family of streaming channels. You can't actually. It's completely free.
How do we get it?
It's available through the Virgin Media box on the TiVo app, so you can get it through there. So I would imagine that Sky carry it too. So if anybody's watching in the chat live on YouTube or Facebook, let us know. Now you can't do what you can do on the iPlayer or on Netflix and go through a menu and pick which episode. They stream these episodes.
Right.
So they decide what you watch when, but it is a nice little idea.
Can I just add there as well, please, Dan? For Pluto TV, if you're watching, all royalties, please, to Dan Hadley. Thanks very much.
And Garbage is just watched Sharda for the first time.
If you ever want some classic Doctor Who to watch, just ask me. I'll put it on my server for you. I might
whatever
you want. I got a bunch of stuff up there anyway. Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
Rabbi, I got your comics through today. Thank you.
oh, it came in.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's perfect. It's made my day.
I really struggled hard to wrap that. I couldn't get any envelope because we were on lockdown, so I had to fashion some kind of packaging.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of Doctor Who fans yesterday, right? And they were more or less like Keith. If you know my friend Keith, he's Switzerland, basically. He doesn't want to argue, just wants to be in the middle. And I was talking to a couple of fans yesterday, and I was saying to them, it's like you're ashamed to actually say that you don't like this era. It's like it's a shame to say, you feel ashamed to say, what's wrong with this era? How come I don't like it? The logo is stupid. It's this, that, the other. I'm not ashamed to say that, right? Because I want Doctor Who back. I've always wanted Doctor Who back. So I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to apologize either, because what they've done to it.
Coming off it being so good, right? Yeah. It was so. I mean, we had this golden, and we knew it was a golden age. That's the thing. Yeah. We'd never seen Doctor Who be cool before. And I remember sitting watching it with my kids. They were just the perfect age. From the Rusty Davis right through to Matt Smith in there. They got a little bit old by Capaldi. My youngest was the beginnings of Capaldi. But yeah, it was an absolute gold. It wasn't perfect. Not everything was perfect.
Exactly. I think from Chris to Matt. I think Chris to Matt, that's when Doctor Who was riding high, had the right amount of budget in it, was shot very well, great casting for the Doctors. When they got to Peter, it was fine when it started off, but then it kind of went down and it kept going down and down.
I think Peter improved. I think his last season was his best.
Can I show you something on this day of the first broadcast on the 23rd of November? When we were talking about you're talking about your lads there when they were kids. I want to show you a picture, if I may. Why do I keep eating my Sonic? Because I got nothing else to eat. I didn't get any lunch. What I'm going to say is there's a picture here that when I was little, this really, really encompassed what Doctor Who was for me, and I'm going to show you it. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Now, that was before the 5 Faces of Doctor Who plugged to the other week when you can try the 12 Doctors on this channel. But that was it. And that was, for me, that summed up the mystery of Doctor Who, because I had never seen that era before. And isn't that a gorgeous picture? That still gets me today. A wonderful picture that. There you go, viewers.
And don't you think that when the pages start to yellow a little bit, that's the Doctor Who monster book, isn't it? That's the Target Doctor Who monster book. When that came out originally, about 1977, something like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's about 75, I think, the first monster book. 77 or 78, the second monster book.
This is 1975. This is my original. I'm going to show you.
Beautiful.
This was the state of my poster.
That's a well-loved poster.
That was on my wall for years. Look at it.
Held together by bits of sellotape.
I wish I'd known then.
My copy of that is second or third hand. Never even got the poster with mine. It went missing in action a long, long time ago. Right, before we get stuck into the next segment of Doctor Who Day,
there's another segment
on Type 40. Yeah, there's a lot more to come. Yes, I wanted to just check in because there's lots going on in the fan community today on Doctor Who Day, and when this goes out as a podcast too, it'll all be available still to view out there too. Not least of all, there are lots of watch-alongs, tweet-alongs. They're all very much a thing, and I promised I'd mention this is a couple of friends of ours who are running this. And it's a big tweet along. I think it's happening 7 o'clock tonight, a watch along and a tweet along on Doctor Who Day, but it'll be available to watch and to read back over the next few days, no doubt. So yes, here's a little trailer for all of that. Check it out. Yeah, so use the hashtag Hartnell first and hashtag Anonymously Child. Yes, and you can join in with all that's going on Twitter and across social media. And a beautiful piece of animation there. That's been done by by our friend Lee on Accent
Good
Audio. What's the company called?
Axon Audio.
Yeah, something like that. I'll make sure the link is in the description. I've forgotten exactly what it's called, but yeah, congratulations, Lee. It's beautiful animation, and no doubt lots of fun will be had with that later on, tweeting away through An Unearthly Child and watching it along on YouTube.
Wonderful.
Hashtag Hartnell first.
Little black girl.
Wonderful example.
The clue is in the hashtag. But that does remind me, the first person I want to pay tribute to on Doctor Who Day. Let's just take a moment. We've got a picture here of somebody. This is a brand new picture that's been put out today by Clayton Hickman. I think it's absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
A colorized picture here of course, the originator, the producer.
That was Jenna Ellis at first.
The producer of Doctor Who. That first producer of Doctor Who, Verity Lambert, there, hanging out with friends, filming Mission to the Unknown, which I think was one of the last episodes she worked on, wasn't it, Simon?
Yeah, it was Dalek's Master Plan absolutely was the last thing that she worked on. It was the last Doctor Who stuff that she worked on before handing over. And I'm not sure whether that is Mission to the Unknown or Dalek's Master Plan that they're sort of promoting at that point. But,
Great picture.
Yeah, it's a fantastic picture, isn't it?
It's so weird seeing these things in colour.
Yeah.
It really is.
Do that is I'm not sure whether any colour photos exist at all, so I don't know how accurate the colorizing. Not that it matters, but as a geek, I'm interested to know whether those are actually accurate colours or whether Clayton has just sort of picked them in the paint box and messed about.
See the guy behind? It looks like they stopped his makeup on on his head. I couldn't be bothered to fill this bit in.
I'm trying to think. He's got a mask. He's got a mask on in the actual episode, hasn't he? His face is covered up.
It really is right that we remember Verity Lambert on Today of All Days. I mean, she was a wonderful, wonderful woman. She was so lovely and very approachable and very chatty and just a giant in television in the industry. And that actually could, we mustn't forget this because, we're going on about all this stuff that's happening in the world right now and all this politics that is going on everywhere and that has come into science fiction and has come into Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. She was the first producer of the legendary British science fiction series that ran from 1963 to 1989. And she was a woman. We wouldn't
be sitting here talking about it without.
And what colour was the guy that directed the first episode?
Warris as well. He's a gent as well.
Exactly, and he was a man of hue.
Indeed, he was, and he was. And don't tell anybody, but he was gay as well. Shh.
We don't want that getting out. That could change the world, Simon.
Oh, that'll infect you. I tell you what, that'll infect you.
I think that some people out there, the younger ones maybe, don't realise because now, of course, Verity Lambert, she's the first producer of Doctor Who. But I remember, obviously, she brought not just directly afterwards shows like Adam Adamant to the television, but this was the woman behind Minder. This was the woman behind Jonathan Creek. This was the woman, and the hits just came on and on and on. She was so well respected. She was huge, and the people who worked with her, they still talk about it with not just with bated breath professionally, but the personal qualities that you were just talking about there, JT. They all say that. I remember talking to Ian Levine a little around the time she passed away, which is around 2007, and people were just devastated. People who knew her from all quarters of life. She was only about 71, 72, wasn't she? I think she could have certainly been continuing to work in television now. She was at the time of her death. She just worked on a romantic comedy, and was it called Duck Soup, something like that?
Yeah,
remember that one?
Duck Soup. Yeah.
She was still
her only misfire, of course, was El Dorado. That was her.
El Dorado. Or was it? Was El Dorado a misfire? Everybody, let me know in the chat. I still miss it. Bring back Pilar.
She was proud of that, though. She was proud of El Dorado. And you know something? El Dorado would be a hit today because it was ahead of its time. If you go back,
it was rubbish. No, it was still rubbish.
But if you look at the television that's out there now,
true. Can we, with it being the anniversary date, Duncan Shaw, I can see, has just commented to say, I understand Sidney Newman created the Doctor Who series. Yeah, absolutely, Duncan, you are quite correct.
Yes, it was his brainchild.
And he was Canadian.
He was Canadian, and he came from ITV to do it, in effect. But Verity Lambert was the first producer, so she was employed by Sidney Newman to produce the first series of Doctor Who. So while Sidney Newman created the idea, it was actually Verity Lambert that ran with it and actually created what we see on screen.
It's like Stan Lee and Ditko, isn't it? Because Stan Lee was credited for
actually,
creating
let's clear this up now while I've got the chance to do this to the world, because I'm fed up of seeing younger fans, especially, coming up saying that Sidney Newman was like the sort of Gene Roddenberry of Doctor Who. He wasn't. He came up with the idea. And then he passed it on, and it was Verity that shaped it, and she became that. Now, if it had been up to Sidney, we wouldn't have got the Daleks, which cemented Doctor Who's popularity in the United Kingdom. Yeah. And then I see an awful lot of this stuff going on. Michael Grade went to see Sidney Newman to get the show back on track in 85 and 86. That is true, but all his ideas were rejected, and they were rejected because they were outlandish fop. Yeah. They were not considered at all.
And one of those ideas,
everybody knows that. Yeah, everybody knows that. JT.
He was very.
No, they don't. The younger ones don't, because the younger ones see the creation of Sidney Newman, and I just want to clear that up, because he didn't. That was the job. He had to come up with the ideas, and he passed the idea. And Doctor Who was one of several.
Sidney Newman's idea was literally on a little piece of paper. That was it. He just wanted something to fill the gap, and he came up with maybe a mad professor going through time and space, but. It was very, very vague, and Verity was the one who pulled it all together with help, with other people, with
lots of help.
Mainly Verity,
the first story editor.
Lots of help, lots of alchemy was at work in those early days to create magic. Help behind the camera and in front of the camera, and that brings me to the first selection that I've got here for. Hang on. Our first selection I've got here, because this is something that I wanted to do for Doctor Who Day. I thought that this would be a bit of a laugh, because we're coming to the end of 2020. I thought we could do a Doctor Who Personality of the Year kind of a review with Type 40's Companions of the Year. And I've got a bunch of people here that I wanted to throw out there. This is people that have various people who are on Type 40 now have come to me with and said, what about this person? I think they've done brilliantly this year. And people out there in the Doctor Who community who've really made a mark and have made a difficult year, have made 2020 with so little actual Doctor Who on, and a lot of us not even allowed out of doors. They've made the Doctor Who universe something memorable after all, given us a lot of great rainy days or red letter days. And the first I wanted to highlight was this lady here, Carol Ann Ford. Now I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why. Carol Ann Ford, the original leading lady of Doctor Who, and now, of course, I mean, she's still very much with us. She was 81 years of age, something like that. And she's still acting. She still performs on Big Finish. But why I wanted to nominate her as one of the Companions of the Year for 2020 was the fact that she's launched her own audio series, a series of box sets this year with Big Finish, playing Susan in Susan's War. Now, I know you've heard this, Sarah. I would imagine you have too, Rabbi. It was one of the highlights of my year. Listening-wise, I thought it was a wonderful release. But more importantly, here we have a fantastic female lead in Doctor Who. She was fantastic back then, despite whatever went on with the character. And, of course, she left after just a year. But on audio, she's more than sort of made up for the character development that didn't happen back then. I thought Susan's War was incredible. For a woman of her age, she's got so much energy, so much character. Sarah, do you see why I've picked Carol Ann Ford here for one of my companions of 2020?
She's just brilliant. The energy she brings to it, and she loves Doctor Who as much as the rest of us. It's really close to her heart, and just to see all that joy. And the first story when she's reunited with Ian, it was quite emotional, actually.
For me, she's still the queen of Doctor Who.
She is. Absolutely.
You know what I mean, Simon? I don't want to use the expression Queen Mother, because I think that makes her sound like she's 100 and she's not.
She's adorable. And in An Unearthly Child in particular, I just think she's fantastic, because let's not forget, that was a hard part for anybody to play. It's difficult in today's climate to sort of think back 57 years to when Doctor Who, nothing like Doctor Who was on television at that time. And the part of Susan was a really odd part. It didn't really fit into anything. She was very much handed a poison chalice with this part as to what she was going to do with it, and it could have gone either way. And in a lesser actress's hands, it would have just not worked. It would have been a horrible mess. And yet Carol Ann Ford absolutely does it beautifully. She brings that slightly quirky, weird edge to it without it tipping over into sort of being a sort of pastiche or anything unpleasant. It just works brilliantly. She's great. And as Sarah says, she's always been such a brilliant ambassador for the show. She's never shied away from it. She's always embraced her time on the show. She clearly loves it. Who doesn't love Carol Ann Ford? You know, we hail Carol Ann Ford.
Let's not forget, we're looking at a picture of quite a recent picture here. This is when they were recording Susan's War with William Russell there, who played Ian Chesterton then and still does now. And he had a big birthday the other day, 96 years of age, and still performing. Sarah, it's incredible, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
So lucky to still have him with us.
He's an absolute legend. I mean, interestingly, I saw him. The only time I've ever seen him being interviewed was a few years ago, at a convention, anyway, live. Was in Derby at Hooverville. Hello, Hooverville. We really look forward to seeing you back sometime next year, maybe. And he literally brought the house down, William Russell. I can still remember him sitting on stage and being interviewed. And at one point, his mobile phone just rang, and so he took his mobile phone out and hello. No, I'm being interviewed. No, I'll fetch the milk on the way home. And it was his wife calling to bring some milk on the way home. And he just brought the house down. He's an absolute gentleman. He's adorable. Love that. That first TARDIS team are just unbeatable. I love Ian and Barbara. Jacqueline Hill is just, she was wonderful and taken far too early. I adore Jacqueline Hill's portrayal of Barbara. Beautiful. They're just a great team.
They are. It's a wonderful team. There's so much history there. Sarah, when we talked on the podcast about Susan's War with Kelly Smith from Vortex magazine, you told us a great anecdote about how you met Carol Ann Ford. We won't get you to go through all that again because I know it was very, very embarrassing. But I'll make sure the link is in the description for anybody who didn't hear that. Have you ever met Carol Ann Ford, JT?
Yeah, I'm a fan. I've been around for a long time.
I know that, but they don't.
But I've met people that are sadly no longer with us. I'm very proud to be around when I was, and have been to as many conventions and to have met both fans and people that have been in the show over the many years. So I even met Michael Craze.
Yeah, I met Michael Craze. I had cider in a pub with Michael Craze, and he was
Did like a bit, lovely.
So in the history of Doctor Who, has Susan regenerated then?
No,
was she?
She wasn't a Time Lord.
It's never been said whether or not. Well, we don't know. It's never been revealed whether or not.
We assume because she turned up in the same body in the Five Doctors, you can assume she's Gallifreyan.
Oh, okay.
But we just don't know that, and that's part of her mystery. And if anybody sort of goes into that,
and they've never really guaranteed that she was definitely the Doctor's granddaughter. Obviously, she knows the Doctor's granddaughter throughout her time there, but it's never really been addressed since, and it's always believed maybe she wasn't.
In Susan's War, they do start nailing that down, and she is sort of portrayed. Well, they don't go into depths about her past, but they do say that she is a Time Lord, and they do. They don't regenerate her. They've given her that sort of credibility, I think, with the Time Lords. Now, whether she is a member of that what would you want to call it? That guild, that group of people, that culture as a honor thing. It should be a what's the expression? Whether they've sort of allowed her in rather than her being a natural belonger of that society, I don't know.
Well, of course, Romana has never materialised since Lala Wall took over the role either.
No.
So there's no need. I think that there's no need for Time Lords necessarily to regenerate, as they always say. Unless accidents happen, they don't need to regenerate.
Well, actually, think about 10th Planet, Simon. Think about 10th Planet. My body's wearing a bit thin. I think there is. Yeah, eventually they do when it wears out.
But that's what I'm trying to say. Barring accident, this is what he says: barring accidents, barring the body wearing out. And at the moment, Lala Ward's body clearly hasn't worn out, bless her, and neither has Caroline Ford's, and so they're still in the role. So good on them.
On audio, they've kept her deliberately mysterious, and they use the character really quite sparingly. And if anything, they're kind of learning from the mistakes made even on TV with the Doctor himself. Rabbi, are you a fan of the Susan's War set? You looking forward to the second?
Love it. And look, the base of all the Time War stuff is excellent. I love what they're doing at Big Finish. Susan's War, I think, is a standout from that. It's a really, really beautiful story. I'm looking forward to hearing more. But the interesting thing, what they're doing with Big Finish with the Time War is they have all these different ranges, all these different sets, and they're all kind of like, you get the feeling now they're all building like tiles to make a bigger picture, and they're working to sign with the 60th anniversary over the next few years with it. But yeah, Susan's War is going to be an integral part of it. That's why I'm really excited about the War Doctor. I think the recasting of look, it worked well with Jake Dubman. I really trust them.
These are all names that are going over my head. Is there anyone that doesn't have a war? Does the robot from 1974 have a war?
How about this name? Never met Jacqueline Hill, one of only 3 companions. I never met Sir Disaster Area. Nobody here met Jacqueline Hill either? No, me neither. Sarah, I want to move along a little bit because this is somebody that you wanted to recommend for one of our companions of 2020, isn't it? So I'm going to put the picture up now and you can tell us why you think this particular Doctor Who person deserves this honour of one of our companions.
Well, it's Peter. I mean, what else can I say? He's been involved in a charity, the Noah's Ark Hospice in London, which is for like poorly babies and little children, and he's been doing a lot of fundraising this past 12 months for this charity, and he's like kind of like the not spokesperson, but there's other celebrities as well, but he's like the main one. He's kind of took it on, his role, and it just doing the good Doctor's work, even though he's not the Doctor, he's still the Doctor to me.
Always.
It's funny, isn't it? I do feel that Peter Capaldi was definitely given a rum deal as the Doctor.
God.
He's everybody knows what I think of his stories, and we're not going down the negative route. But what I am saying is, all credit to Peter Capaldi. He could have turned his back on the show, knowing that it did become, for whatever reason, debatable reasons, very unpopular during those years. And he doesn't. He's still there, the same as Colin Baker. He's still stuck with it. He supports the show. He's a great ambassador to the show, and he's still an absolute cracking actor. So I feel bad for Peter Capaldi.
The reason why we like Peter so much is because if you take Colin Baker, right, his career is non-existent, but Peter's career is still going. He starts in films, whatever, and he still finds time to do this, which is really cool. Yeah. So hats off to him.
I mean, his love of Doctor Who is so clear from his performance.
Yes.
Yes.
A very generous man, a very warm man. Every fan who I know who's met him comes away beaming, sometimes for months on end. And he just seems to really get it. I mean, I know being a fan himself, that probably informs it up to a point. Obviously, being a little older, having lived a life, been through a phase, Simon, even where he rejected his own fandom. Can you imagine that?
I know.
Burnt some of his merchandise. Oh, shocking! Absolutely shocking. There are several other people that I want to talk about too, and this one, Simon, I think I'm going to leave you to talk about this guy. So this is Chris Achilleos. Why did you pick him for one of your companions of 2020? Because that might seem like a left field one to some people out there.
Yeah, I picked Chris because this is to sort of tease people a little bit. I'm delighted to say that we've got a podcast coming up with Chris Achilleos in the not too distant future. Isn't that right, Dan?
It absolutely is.
that was actually recorded a little while ago during lockdown, and Chris Achilleos, well, anybody that knows me knows I just worship the ground that this man walks on, because he's so important to my childhood. I just love his artwork, and those book covers from Target are just so important to me. And so just on a bit of I can't even remember, Dan, why the suggestion came, but I just in a mad moment said, you know what, I'm going to try and contact Chris Achilleos through his website and see if he'll come on and do a podcast. So I just sent him a little message, and within a day, my phone was ringing, and it was Chris Achilleos. I'm like, Chris Achilleos ringing me. Cool. It was just a brilliant moment, and he was just a gentleman. He was one of the nicest people I've ever had the chance to talk to, and he came on and he did the podcast, and he was a true gent. And when he comes out in a few weeks' time, you know, I know you will really. There we go. That's the 10th package. The very first Doctor Who book I ever read. So this stuff is really important to me, and I say Chris himself was a star. He was brilliant, and I can't wait for you to hear the podcast. And the other reason I'm picking him this year is because, yet again, likewise, he is out there. He's doing stuff this year. His website has really exploded.
Had a real renaissance, hasn't he? Hasn't he? And a new product, giving life to the old artwork as well. And
with those.
And he's been really re-energized by it as well, hasn't he? He talked to us for hours.
Absolutely. And I think we could still be talking now. And what was really, really sweet was that he was very, very humble. He almost doesn't realise in how much high regard he's held. He's a very, very humble, unprepossessing man, just a true gent. And I love the fact that now he's getting those mugs out there, and they're very popular. He's now launched a week or two ago the T-shirts that I'm sure will do well as well. And the guy deserves this. He is an absolute legend. And so I can't wait for you to hear the podcast with him, because I could have talked to him for hours. It's just brilliant guy. So he's my person of the year.
An absolute legend.
Ian's got his scarf. Yay, we're twins.
My scarf's too long.
I just bought mine when I went upstairs from my router.
So long, Jesus.
I feel like such a fraud because I don't own one.
Oh, this thing is too warm. I need to get it off. Help. Where's Tom
that's a full size one as well, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, my friend, she basically knitted this for me. It's freaking long.
Really? Very nice.
Yeah, it's incredibly long, and it's got the right colours and everything. It looks shit. Hold on a sec. I shall pick it off.
We have various people chipping in with the Target books love in the chat, and love for Peter Capaldi too. So both of those suggestions have gone down really, really well. Charlotte Shields says the love for him has not stopped growing. I almost think he gained more fans after leaving. That's Peter Capaldi, of course.
He 100% gained more fans after leaving. Again, we're not being negative. We're being positive here. One of the great things about the only good thing about the current era, in my mind, it's made everything else look good, and it forced me to go back and do a complete reevaluation of Clara. I started reevaluating Clara, which led me into Capaldi, and I always knew I loved his performance. Right, that performance is so incredibly led. It has micro expressions of other Doctors. It's a breathtaking performance, but I didn't realize how much I loved it and how sad I am that we didn't have an extra couple of years of it. I would have loved to have seen him.
I did. I went back.
Unit, for example.
I did go back. I went back and watched all his episodes recently, and he's good, but unfortunately the stories were terrible. The scripts were awful as far as I was concerned.
Terrible. I mean, that first season was the weakest. I think you had some really. You had Sherlock doing very well, which I think was taking up their time.
Yeah.
You had a lot of stuff. You had a good, 4 stories, which are pretty much unwatchable.
Yeah.
People are raiding.
Better.
People are raiding their bookshelves in the chat, everybody. We've got people talking about the 8th Doctor books. We've got the Target books. We've got all that kicking off. People going down memory lane here on the 57th anniversary of Doctor Who. That can't be a bad thing. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and Ian, I think that this may chime with your childhood a little bit. Somebody else that I wanted to pick as one of the companions of the year may seem a little left field, and she may be cross with me for not picking the most flattering of pictures, but there is a reason why. I wanted to nominate Katie Manning for one of my.
Lovely Katie Manning.
I think this woman is. If we talked a moment ago about Carol Ann Ford being the queen of Doctor Who, I think if Doctor Who has a fairy godmother, it's got to be Katie Manning. She's a wonderful. She's a ray of sunshine. This year has been awful for people on lots of different levels. Various different things, not just lockdowns, lots of things that have tested people on both a personal level and obviously as a national and international level. And Katie Manning is there mostly on Twitter and Instagram, and she's been through a terrible time herself with a couple of problems with her own health.
Yeah.
And there she is, beaming this sort of sunlight out of your smartphone off these various platforms, always offering hugs and support, lots of hearts. None of it ever sounds insincere.
She talked to me during the lockdown.
Did she?
Yeah.
Go on, tell us about that then.
Oh, I did. It was, for VE Day.
Yes.
I kind of dressed up a bit, and it looked a lot like what she wore in. Oh, I'm struggling on the episode. I think it was Terror of the Autons. So I tagged her in it on the off chance. And not only did she reply, she shared it, and we had a little conversation, and it was just amazing. She's wonderful.
The thing that's lovely about Katie Manning is she's as mad as a box of frogs. She knows it. She is as mad as you think she's going to be, and she's just absolutely adorable.
Have they Big Fish finished done a companion story where like the
they've done a lot of stuff with her.
Right.
They do the third Doctor box sets where they have this guy called Tim Treloar. The first one where he basically plays the third Doctor. The first one they did, he was like the narrator who sounded like the Doctor, but people said, just forget the narration bit, have him play the Doctor. And he's good. I have to tell you, he's absolutely excellent. She's the energy she has with him is just absolutely perfect. I think she's one of those people who I would never want to see recast. I'm a bit nervous about the recast, even though they got her daughter, the recasting of Sarah Jane for the release next year. I'm a bit I heard it's not bad, but it's
maybe the BBC should make a one-off with an episode with all the companions that are obviously still alive, and they should do that. That'd be cool. It might be cool. It might be cool.
Listen, they can't even do a proper series, never mind a spin-off.
Well, you never know.
If people wanted serious ratings, they should just greenlight the Donna Noble Kidnap Big Finish. It's a 4-part box set they did, and it's basically a spin-off. David Tennant's in it as like a cameo. But that thing will get ratings that the BBC just couldn't even dream of now. That will be getting in the 8 and 9 millions because it's just good, fun entertainment with somebody who you like, somebody you like being around that isn't preaching to you and telling you what's wrong with the world. Or she is a bit, but that's kind of nice.
The suggestion. She was one of the original eco warriors, I suppose you could say. The suggestion of Katie Manning has gone down really well in the chat. We've got the best companion ever, fairy godmother, good way to put it. We've got DJ Theta Singer. Katie Manning wins hands down for me. An amazing companion, such a lovely person throughout lockdown. She's been a beacon of light in a dark world. She was also in the Sarah Jane Adventures, Death of the Doctor. She was. We've seen a picture of that, Duncan. It was a beautiful piece. And somebody's got a question here, which I haven't got an answer to. So Eastlyn Burkholder asks, is Tom Baker the tallest Doctor Who?
Yes.
Does anybody know the answer to that one?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Very, very slightly. He was always taller than John. Very slightly.
Who's the shortest?
Sylvester.
It could be McCoy, right?
Sylvester, I would have thought. It could be Hartnell. I'm sure it's Sylvester.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Sylvester.
I think Hartnell was 5'5" because David Bradley's taller than Hartnell, isn't he?
Well, how tall was Sylv? How tall was Sylv? How tall is Sylv?
5'3" was that?
3'2".
Yeah,
something like that. Short. Patrick
He
Troughton.
does,
Troughton
yeah,
is
but
quite short, quite right.
Not as short as Sylvester. We've got Thrid Doctor. Hi, Simon Richard here from the old Lunatic days. That's a message.
Well,
from
hello,
you,
Richard.
Simon.
Depends on which Richard. There were a few Richards in the old Lunatics days. Whichever Richard you are, hello. Please come and find me on the Lunatics and Facebook and message me and let's meet up. Let's hook up in cyberspace, as to say, please. I don't know which Richard you are. So go and find me on the Lunatics on Facebook.
Yeah. Staying with the fandom for a moment too, there's somebody, I think we spoke to them again on the podcast earlier in the year. That's not the prerequisite for being a companion of 2020, but this person, their story, it's probably our most popular episode this year. And this gentleman's story, it really did chime with me, really affected me. I think you felt the same as well, didn't you, Simon? It's the man John Collier, the writer.
Yes,
John Collier. Now, this gentleman, if you're out there watching, John, hello, together with Alex Storer, they teamed up earlier on in the year to put together the most exhaustive, authoritative, and the biggest ebook probably in Doctor Who history, but a massive reference work on the history of probably the most missed, I'd say it's the most missed of all of the Doctor Who tourist locations, wasn't it, Simon? It was all about the Blackpool Doctor Who exhibition that was there from the mid-70s until the mid-80s. John and Alex, between them, put this book together with Alex handling all the visuals. But this, as we heard on the podcast, this was a mission that John had been on for literally decades, wasn't it? 25, 30 years he'd wanted to write this book. And this year, he finally got to do it. The book came out, this ebook. It was a massive success to the point it's already gone to a second edition. I was so affected by this story. He has to be one of my companions of 2020. JT, were you following this story as a merchandise man, as somebody who remembers the 70s and the early to mid 80s? I'm far enough, you can't slap me for that. What do you think about this story? It's a typical Doctor Who fan story, isn't it? You can't fail to be touched by this.
Well, yes, and it's one of those classic cases that we've said before where you had to be there. And I'm very aware of John, and I'm very aware of the book, and well done. And I believe there's another version coming out, or a sequel, or whatever you want to call that. I wish they had done it as a book. I'm old-fashioned. I like a book. So, John,
they're still
have a look into
about
that.
It, JT. They're still talking.
I think that would be lovely, And as everybody knows, I like my coffee table books, so that's great.
And I'm with you, JT.
Yeah, the Blackpool exhibition, the original Blackpool exhibition, because of course there was a second version, but the original Blackpool exhibition will stay in a whole couple of generations' minds. It was so unique. It was so special. Walking through the police box doors and going down those steps, recreated in John's books. I mean, I'm getting the thrills again just now.
Yeah.
They used to play the Doctor Who sound effects record on a loop. It was just magnificent, magical times, and never to be repeated.
It was thrilling. It should be pointed out. Actually, Darren Bradley has just pointed out we are now coming up to the very moment at which An Unearthly Child Part 1 was first broadcast.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes,
there we go.
Live on YouTube and on Facebook
Darren.
at the moment as we record this. Thank you, Darren, for pointing that out. We are now in the minute of that original transmission. Everybody, I won't give a minute silence. That will be next to impossible with this lot. But yes, it is definitely worth observing. Thrid Doctors loved that ebook. It was so comprehensive. It was, and Alex and John in particular, many congratulations on the success of the book. We are really excited to see what's coming next. I think it's called Blackpool Revisited, the next one. I know they're talking about all sorts of things, and who wouldn't want to see that in actual real print? They need to have a talk to you, don't they, Rabbi, about getting a Kickstarter going or an Indiegogo going? I think the Rabbi might have frozen again.
I've never seen him so quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
I have coffee table books, but no coffee tables, says Derek in the chat.
Well, we'll have a whip round, Derek, because we can get them from Argos.
Yeah.
Cheap. Yeah. Other stores are available.
New and fascinating things every live stream, gents. Amazing. Well, we are here to help there, Lord.
Do our best. Can I give you a factoid? Because while we've been chatting, I have looked it up, and I can confirm that indeed Sylvester McCoy is the shortest Doctor Who at 1.89 meters, and Tom Baker is indeed the tallest Doctor Who at, no, hold on, 1.91 is Tom Baker, 1.68, I apologise, 1.68 Sylvester, and 1.91 is Tom, who is the tallest. So there we go. That's answered that particular.
How comes the clothes fit him then when he changed from Colin Baker to?
They didn't.
they didn't.
Because those regenerated well, obviously. For anybody that's intrigued about Patrick Troughton, if you're thinking that he is the second shortest at 1.73, so he's just a couple of inches taller than Sylvester. So there we go. Now you can sleep easy.
Oh dear,
and
I
put on my season 18 Doctor Who scarf because I was beginning to feel a little bit left out. So I've now got my scarf on.
Actually, so talking of season 18, we would have started State of Decay. State of Decay Part 1 back in the day. Yeah. Oh, actually, I might watch that.
Would we? Is that what was broadcast today in 1980?
Yeah. State of Decay Part 1.
Well, then I'm correctly
full of anniversaries. Full of anniversaries.
The good days.
We're talking up to date for a moment now. And yes, I want to talk about this person because I'm going to put this guy forward for one of my companions of 2020. And it's not without reservation. You can hear a pin drop. But I think I have to nominate him because this was my pick for a long, long time. This was my pick for the 13th Doctor. He's been involved with Doctor Who for around 7 years. A couple of days ago, I think it was, Sarah, that we first saw this guy, because we mentioned earlier on, he originally played Waris Hussein. I always wanted him to play the Doctor. Okay. This year, of course, he did join the fictional Doctor Who universe. One of my companions of 2020 is Sacha Dhawan, who took the role of the Master in Series 12 of Doctor Who earlier this year on New Year's Day in Part 1 of Spyfall, and then again into Part 2. And first of all, as an actor, I've always enjoyed his work. That's why I want him to play the Doctor. I think he's a very watchable actor, a very naturalistic performer, very instinctual. I think he's magnetic to watch. And more than all of those things, I think he relishes every part he gets. And the Master, Sacha played the Master in Series 12. The Master was no exception. There was a lot of problems with Series 12, I know, but this is a rare instance where I think that the casting of Sacha Dhawan as the Master was a master stroke. I love the fact that he loves playing the part so much. I love how he is with a fan base. Several fans out there have met him. And so, I wasn't entirely impressed with the scripts he was given. We've talked about that with another actor earlier on. But here is an actor in the right role who sinks his teeth in, gets into the part and shows us what it's like to have a commanding lead and a strong actor back in this show, shaming everybody else. So I say welcome to the Doctor Who universe proper to Sacha Dhawan. I hope you've had a great 2020, and thanks for giving us a character that I could really believe in.
If you watch,
I wish I could agree with you.
Absolutely,
I don't agree with you at all. He should be the Doctor, yes, definitely. If they were going to do the Doctor, cast that man because he's definitely. But as the Master, he was terrible. The scripts were awful. Therefore, he was terrible.
I'm afraid I agree.
I think the one thing we can all kind of agree about him is that he seems to be happy to be there, which made him very, very different from everybody else. Whenever I read anything about the production notes in Doctor Who magazine, everything seems like the biggest drag, and they hate doing everything apart from him. Right now, there's one thing that has made me really crazy. That there are both a small clump of people who are insane, that were upset that because his skin color wasn't just the right match for them, and there's other people who are insanely happy because of his skin color. To me, if we're matching people's skin color, which just seems an insanity, I can't believe we've come to this. But we're matching skin color. He looks about the same as Roger Delgado to me. I don't think he's the first, person, whatever you want to call it. I just don't think he is. I think Roger Delgado played him as somebody with kind of like a suave Arabic.
He was the best. He was the
He
best
certainly was.
master. He was, and every other master, the guy that came after him was quite good. But when they started having the master as crazy, and that's when I lost it. I was like, you know what? That master is not the master I know. You know.
The
And I
live
agree
chat
with
that we're
Charlotte.
watching here.
I agree with Charlotte here. I thought he was okay in that first couple of episodes. He was okay. By the end of the series, I was literally ready to throttle him. He was doing my head in. He was just so manic.
It went south. I mean, we put out a 2-hour review of his last performance in the role. I won't say the episode's name, and yes, it did go south for me too. But his enthusiasm and commitment to the role does remain. I haven't given up on Sacha Dhawan. The live chat as we're recording this, they're very 50-50 on this one. So I thought it might have been putting it out there a little bit, but it's his personal investment in the role.
Him as an
the
actor
fans,
is really good,
and that's what sort of brought me around to Ian. So I believe that this is the right actor in the right part, and that is a rare thing nowadays.
It's a great shame. It's a great shame that he's come along at a time where millions of us will not see him in the role. I don't know.
I agree so much with it.
It's such a shame. But it's interesting to see that his little outfit on your first picture there is very doctorish.
Yeah.
So you know, that's quite.
To me, he looked much more like a meddling monk, and he acted more like the meddling monk the more he went along.
That's true.
He's a really good actor. It's a shame they've given him such shit to work with. I mean, it really was crap.
I'll have to. I'm going for just some editing on this now. Oh God. Okay. Yes. So I wondered how that one was going to play out. People in the chat are I preferred Missy. It was always going to be a tough act to follow with Michelle Gomez there on that one. So I know she was very, very popular. People really loved her and would have liked her to stay on. But now I think the time was right for a change, whatever the weather.
No, it wasn't.
If we're talking, you'd have preferred Michelle Gomez back in?
Yes, definitely. And also, she should have been the master. No, she shouldn't have been the master. That's what I was going to say. She should have been some other character, maybe the Rani. She should have been the Rani. Should never have been the master. Yeah. She's a brilliant actress.
The thing I liked about her performance, though, that first year again, I don't think it was very good. But the thing I liked about her performance, though, she seemed to imbue, and this is the reason I was on board for there being a female doctor as well. She seemed to imbue lots of things that we've seen in the Master before. She had a touch of the aliens, a touch of the Delgado. She had a touch of the Sims, and it just seemed to be an amalgamation of that character. And and the fact that she went from being male to female is a sort of bonkers thing the Master would do. I just assume she did that to hide her.
But she was also very calculating as well, just like the original guy that played the Master. And that's what I liked about her. But then they got Sacha in and they just went mental with him, and it's just like, why? It's like
we did see Michelle Gomez as Missy across quite a few episodes. That character did evolve. When she first appeared, she was very sort of pantomime. So potentially, if anybody was willing to stay the course, I think as an opening shot, the version of the character that we saw as a reset, as an opening shot that we saw in Spyfall was perfectly fine. The Rabbi, you want me to share? I've got something to share here from the Rabbi. Pop that on screen.
We were talking about was it Katie Manning earlier?
Katie Manning,
doing Big Finish. If anybody wants to check out on Big Finish, this I think is my favorite one she's did. It's completely insane. It's got Melvin Hayes in as well from it ain't our fault.
Really?
And, it was really good. Basically, it's an alien invasion in the form of a weird 70s children's TV show, which is a guest star, and it's really good. It sounds bonkers. It's really, it's only $3.99 as well. But that would be my recommendation. By the way, when we're talking about anniversary specials, did you talk about Light at the End?
No, what's that? No. That's the Big Finish 50th anniversary special.
I'll put up.
There've been several of those. But yes, that story you've just flashed up, The Scorches, that was written by James Goss. James Goss just happens to be another one of my companions of 2020.
Oh, there you go.
So yes, I've got him. I've got him here. Where are we? Oh, give me one.
Although,
moment.
tell you,
there. Yeah, so I've got James Goss here, and I'll explain why I've chosen James Goss. Time Lord Victorious is the publishing initiative that's been going on now for a few months in the Doctor Who universe, since around September time. And out here in the Doctor Who universe, there are some of us that are really on board with it, are quite enjoying it. Others, it's left them cold, and some who have no real idea what it is, even now. And all of those things,
idea what it is. And that's my biggest criticism of it. Most people have no idea what it is because it was rolled out insanely badly.
Yes.
I mean, look, this initial poster by Lee Binding, perfect, came out at the right time and was perfect. Nothing has lived up to the promise of this picture or the other ones either. The way they rolled it out is it's insanely bad. Nobody has any idea what the story really is. It's essentially 2 books. That's what it is, 2 books with a bunch of stuff like side stories from those books that aren't allowed to be connected directly because each thing's got its own independent thing. It's been managed breathtakingly badly. They should have had a free audio production with Jake Dubman, just put him in front of a microphone. He can do all the voices very well, and then excite us with the story, right? Excite us with the story.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah,
it makes you wonder, because I think you're right. I think that something was needed that would sit right in the middle of that. I mean, ideally, I suppose it could have been Daleks, but it could have been something
at the last minute. But that's garbage. I mean,
it could have been something. But here, this is why I've put James Goss forward, because this is the man who's in the middle of this, and whatever else, it obviously hasn't worked. But there are some good ideas in there, and I really think that James Goss has tried his heart out to give us a new experience with this here, Sarah. What do you think about all this stuff?
She's gone mute.
Oh, we can't hear Sarah. Why have we lost Sarah? Let's see if I can.
Is she on mute? No, she isn't.
No. Yeah, so the principle of it, I think she'll probably fix the mic in a moment.
There you go. She's back.
Are you back, Sarah?
No,
we can't hear you.
Oh.
Yeah, so I love a trier. I think the Doctor Who universe loves a trier. I think James Goss has tried with this. I think he's tried to make what is kind of extended period without any Doctor Who, even for other people who have been enjoying the current reign. I think he's tried to sort of fill the gap a little bit and to bring about something that could have been unique. No, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked, James. But I suspect nuggets of it, on their own merits, will have some sort of longevity. I'd sort of like them.
It's going to be forgotten in a second.
Yeah, I'd sort of like them to try again with this, but just to think, just to box a little cleverer, to think about what's worked and what hasn't worked, what's feasible in a practical way. And to try again, maybe for the 60th anniversary, with slightly more realistic ambitions.
You can't do it because the audience isn't there.
It isn't there. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, if you've got merchandise freaks like me who are not buying into this, your new audience that they wanted isn't there, and they've pissed the rest of us off, and we're not going into it.
No, it's also designed to get us back. This isn't for the new audience.
But it's too late. It's not worked. We're not getting involved with it. We don't want to get involved. Do you know what I mean? It's a massive flop, and it will disappear.
I went in hopeful though. I went with a full heart, and I pre-ordered the Big Finish audios for it. Everything. I've read the comic books. I've just basically everything I read hasn't been good enough, and I'll give you an example of a real failure of this. Like a fundamental part of the story is somehow they can go back to the dawn of time, and you got the Ninth Doctor with the Gallifreyan war with the vampires, right? It's the decay, right? But they don't explain how they get back there. But now that piece of the puzzle is in an escape room which you can go to if you live in London, and it's open. It's it, and now the first thing they rolled out. It was, for fact, the thing they're trying to appeal to, that's really important. Yeah, that being able to is really important. And
that's definitely the first dropped bollock of the exercise. Yeah, well, it's a big one as well.
The problem is that the merchandise has been around for decades now, and they still don't know how to do it, and they still don't understand the show, and they still don't know how to market it properly, and they still don't know what things sell and what have you. And do you know what it is as well? It's because typically in BBC Studios, like BBC Studios themselves, it was enterprises, then it was worldwide, then it was studios. It's because the teams change all the time, and you're not getting continuity, you know, and that's why we see covers changing. We see logos not being used correctly because they're thinking branding all the time. They're thinking marketing. They're thinking, oh, this is good. These freaks will buy this. They don't understand the show. They don't look at the history and body of work of what they've got. And you know, people are starting to talk about a 60th now. If this show gets to the 60th, I'll be very, very surprised the state it's in just now and the way the merchandise is right now. You know, but it's a shame that this could have worked had we all been on board. If it wasn't a cash grab, if they weren't aiming it at those of us who have been alienated on purpose from the show. And I agree with the rabbi there, because I do think it is a flop, and I do think this will disappear. And if they try it again, more fool them, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Totally agree with you, JT.
Yeah. The goodwill's gone, which is the problem. The goodwill. Yeah. Interesting story about James Goss was what you're just saying about the marketers never understand it. Back before 2005, in the wilderness years, where they had the telesnaps, and they started putting the telesnaps on the BBC website, right?
Yeah.
The original plan was they wanted to make the people be able to, viewers be able to make their own stories with the telesnaps, and James Goss is like, no, they don't want that. The fans want to see the telesnaps in the proper way. And he's like, so he had to try and talk them around to that. So yeah, I think he understands it. But this needs a Kevin Feige as somebody who understands the property and understands the business and understands the production of it, like Russell T Davies did. Quite frankly, Russell T Davies really understood marketing and really understood the show and really understood the people who watch the show and how to get it to an entire new audience.
Yep. We have seen an expert marketing job of sorts happen in the Doctor Who community this year, and it's something that happened. No money changed hands, and it was it came out of the blue, really, and out of a situation which none of us would ever want to be in. In mid to late March, the UK went into lockdown. Of course, it did. And out of that grew, first from a little seed, really, an instinct to do something just to cheer people up, just for one night, to watch, fun enough, the 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who, the Day of the Doctor, on one night, on Twitter, and to get people tweeting. It was the idea, the initiative of one woman, and over a period of 3 or 4 months afterwards, the idea expanded, the concept evolved, more and more people got involved. So one of my companions of 2020 has to be Doctor Who Magazine's Emily Cook here, who was the driving force behind Doctor Who Lockdown. I thought everything that you've just said about what the BBC haven't done, JT, the cynical marketing view and the exploitation and that sort of bitter aftertaste that gives you, all of that was washed away by watching not just what Emily managed to sort of bring into being with the original Lockdown, that original sort of batch of events and special bespoke little productions, but the way fandom reacted for several weeks. The entire fandom came back together and relished those old stories, got along with one another, supported one another through unprecedented circumstances. Lockdown, Simon, I think all of us were in shock, weren't we? I know you don't do Twitter, but word of this did reach you.
Very wise.
But word of this did reach you, didn't it? And we talked about, we sampled some of the extra material that was produced. We got Dr. Andrew Ireland. He came onto the podcast to talk to us about how he brought his into reality, how he made it with Emily's cooperation and encouragement. It was inspirational, wasn't it?
It's all absolutely very, very inspirational. I've just got such a problem these days with to be honest, and I really don't want to get negative, so I'm not going to dwell on this. Unfortunately, I know. Unfortunately, modern Doctor Who has soured me so much. To be honest, I'm quite happy just retreating into those Blu-ray box sets.
Same here.
Yeah,
and I'm quite happy for anybody to do all these tweet-alongs. Unfortunately, as I say, no, I don't get involved with them. And so, regrettably, I've got to the stage now where I've almost sort of switched off from anything that's happening in the world of Doctor Who. The minute they announced the Web of Fear this morning, suddenly my ears prick up again. But anything else, Time Lord Victorious, everything else, unfortunately, I'm really sorry. I've got nothing to say other than I'm sorry. Doctor Who has destroyed my interest in modern what is happening today in Doctor Who. And I'm quite happy to go back to that.
You remember this, though, don't you? You were there, Rabbi. You watched this unfold as well. You know, we talked about the lockdown episodes, didn't we, on Tide 40?
It was absolutely tragic because Fandom was united and riding high like I hadn't seen it in years. Since the 50th anniversary, we were on such a good place.
And it was down to this woman.
We reached, was it the fantastic story, Human Nature, Family of Blood?
Oh, don't go there! Don't go there!
And then somebody poured cold water on it.
Yeah, don't go there.
And it was just utterly tragic. But Dan, you're missing out. You know, I think perhaps the significant marketing thing, marketing push that happened in the world of Doctor Who this year. Yeah, fortunately for you, I can't give a straight face. Try to. Unfortunately, I'm gonna share it for you. I think I just shared you the most incredible marketing push. You can decide what it is. You can decide whether or not.
I'd rather talk about that another time if we saw the.
You know what they'll say?
I'd love to see your panel's face. That's basically what I want.
I would say to Simon, don't apologise. For what you said there, because you're not the only one. There's Ian, there's me, there's millions of us.
The reason I'm apologising is just I really don't want to be negative today, and It's
not negative. It's your feeling, so it's not positive or negative. And anyone that thinks it is needs to have a word with the shrink.
I know what cheer you up, Simon. This face. Look at his face. Look at his smile. Doesn't that make it all better? The face of Tom Baker.
No, it doesn't.
Fourth Doctor.
It doesn't make it all better. I like Tom Baker. He's great.
Why doesn't it make it better for you, Ian?
Because the Doctor Who is dead now.
This is a good thing. Well, that's not why we're here on Doctor Who Day, is it?
Of course not.
Talking about Doctor Who. It's not dead. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this exercise. Doctor Who.
I mean, the truth is, Doctor Who. Listen, we have three major fandoms in the world. We have Doctor Who, we have Star Trek, we have Star Wars. I think Star Wars is the most dead. I mean, I think Mandalorian is like breathing a little bit embers into it, but not much. I think maybe Star Trek might be more dead than Doctor Who right now. But Doctor Who is not. It's thank God we have an incredible legacy that we can look back on. And I genuinely believe it's the show that comes back, right? I believe that at some point it will come back. It will come back, yeah, and it will come back in a genuine fashion, not the way
it will.
Right now, to me, in these two people we've now got on screen, we've got Emily Cook sat next to Tom Baker, and in those two people, we've got a man who's in his mid 80s now, and a woman who's in her early to mid 20s, and they are united. I mean, obviously, that they're there meeting professionally. That was for an interview. But those smiles are genuine. That is what Doctor Who brings out in people. That's what the Doctor Who lockdown events brought out in all of us and in the fan base generally. What Emily did was inspirational. What she managed to get people to agree to get involved in. It was just wonderful to see. It was full of heart. Tom Baker, the cast members, everybody else. I think all the other creative showrunners sort of took a step back, not just for Emily, but for all of us. And that was when the reality sank in. You see, that Doctor Who isn't dead, and and more than that, that the BBC doesn't own Doctor Who. The fandom owns Doctor Who. The fans.
I'd like to agree with you, but the BBC owns Doctor Who, right? And the only reason why this happened was because of current Doctor Who. People wanted to see real Doctor Who.
People like Emily.
I like where you're going. I like where you're going, Dan. Unfortunately,
it's the bloody
truth. No, it's not. The reason why they hooked onto this is because of Doctor Who now. They want old Doctor Who.
Ian, this has been demonstrably proven. This actually happened over a period of a few months. And yes, something did blow it up. Somebody did blow it up. And there is always a how can I put this? Not a bad apple, because I don't want to be unkind, but there is always
who was it?
always a wolf in the enclosure. This is the big bad wolf of
You cannot have
2020.
one of your companions.
I am not.
This
No,
guy
let me
is-
explain. Let me explain. Have you not taken the hint there? This is not one of my companions of 2020. This is the big bad wolf of 2020. And Mr. Paul Cornell, you are seriously one of the best Doctor Who writers that has ever lived.
Not anymore. Anymore.
Okay. I love your work. Sincerely love your work.
That's why I blocked you.
I'd love. He hasn't blocked me. I'm one of the very few people you didn't block, mate. I think you're a wonderful writer, but boy, did you get it wrong during Doctor Who lockdown, and you kind of spoilt it for everybody else. You read the situation completely wrong. And yes, I do hope that you enjoyed the rest of 2020, that you're staying safe, and that you and your family are well. But yeah, I do hope you've learned by that error, and you know it was a gaffe. You dropped a bollock, but yeah. Happy, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a good 2020.
He's the Will Wheaton of the Doctor Who universe. He's the Will Wheaton of the Doctor Who universe.
He's not the Will Wheaton of the Doctor Who universe. He's just incredibly woke, and what he forgets is that we made his career with the first Time Worm Revelation book. That was his first book, and people like me supported that book and every other thing he did. And then he kicked off. And that night, I was watching those series, and I was part of that watch along. I was enjoying it. I'm not really a Twitter. I hate Twitter. It's evil. Avoid Twitter. But, it's just a horrible place. But I signed up to get involved with it, and it was joyous. It was lovely. It was brilliant. And then he dropped a clanger, and I don't mean a little pink alien from the moon. He just had to go on and on. And I just thought, do you know what? If I was one of those idiots you read about on the internet now, I would have had all his books and all his videos and burnt them, like certain people have done over the last year. But I'm bigger than that, and they will stay on the shelf. But they'll stay on the shelf. And I just thought, shut up, Cornell. And some of us remember what it can actually be like. And it brought it back to me.
Well, it's a shame because he's actually a lovely, lovely bloke. I've met him.
A lot of people say he's a nice guy. Sarah's had to pop out. Her microphone's broken. We do apologise, everybody. Sarah's met him. He was lovely to her, very generous with his time. Simon, you knew him quite well, didn't you? And Doctor here in the chat knew him too.
Paul and I go, I don't know him well, but Paul and I go back to literally the mid-'80s. We knew each other back in the mid-'80s from old convention days. And I met him again only, was it last year or the year before? He's a lovely, lovely man. But
that's why I hope he takes my tribute.
I believe with you and with Sarah, he was a lovely person. A cornerstone trait of social justice warriors is they look to be awful to the people they're allowed to be awful to. If you get yourself put in the category of somebody who you're allowed to hate, he will be hateful towards you. And he will hate you based on rumor, innuendo, or association.
Yeah, and probably
and he's a great writer. I genuinely believe him to be one. I love his work. I like. What's the name? What's the name? Did the Writer's Tale with Rusty Davis?
Benjamin.
You
mean
Ben Cook?
Ben Cook.
A genuine talent, but also a genuine, intelligent person.
The Writer's Tale's a great book.
A terrible human being. I think he'd be a good person. You've got to be a good person universally, and not just wait for the opportunity to be hateful to people. You're allowed to be hateful.
It was such a shame as well for that particular episode watch along that he did go off on a tangent and he started to bring his own viewpoint into it and he destroyed the thing. A lot of us tailed off after that, and I think that really, really hurt it. But he also hurt the actual wonderful. I mean, Human Nature, for those of you who don't know, was actually based on a Virgin New Adventures from back in the day, which was a very interesting novel back then. It really was great. You would read this with no Doctor Who on television going, that's a twist. That's different. And then, of course, they commissioned it and they remade it for television during Tennant's time, and that became Human Nature and Family of Blood. But he undid the impact of that story with that short thing that's since been published as a book, which was just dreadful. Absolutely
I have good news for you. I have good news for you. I wrote a story that followed that. Which undid it. Okay, essentially, the premise was
Yes, we shared it on the show before.
Show up and reincarcerate the daughter of mine, and like after seeing the devastation that she had wrought and destroyed, take out that piece of time. And basically, write the idiot doctor, who was, I think, it's the only way we can call her the idiot doctor out of it. How was it? How can I contact you?
She publish it.
I did. It's on my YouTube channel.
We've included it before. We put links to it in the descriptions of the podcast too. But we will. If you send me the links again, I'll put them in the description to this very video because it's a great piece of work. It really does. It's economical with the story. It hits you right between the eyes. It undoes all of that in a couple of heartbeats at best. It really is a great piece of writing, and in the nick of time too.
For me as well, you have to be very, very careful with this because I will never buy another Paul McCornell piece of merchandise ever again, and I don't care if he knows that. You can't do anything to me. He's already blocked me for daring to question him on Twitter, so I don't really care. If I ever saw him again, it's not as if I ever saw him again at a convention or something. I would say this to his face, so it's not something I'm going to hide. You know what I mean? But I'll never buy anything that he's done again. You've got to be careful with that. And it's also things like, going to the effect of, and this is another show, we can talk about this, the Target storybook and what happened to Gareth and all this sort of stuff. It's unnecessary. You've got to be careful. You've got to be careful with what you say.
Hey, but I didn't even know him, and he blocked me. I didn't even know all this stuff was happening. And he blocked.
And
I went to find him, and I was blocked.
For the people out there who weren't there at the time, or maybe you don't remember, we did talk about it on the Type 40 podcast. Yeah, on the night of one of the tweet-alongs, Paul Cornell had got pretty much half of the fan base blocked on Twitter, so they couldn't participate in the tweet along, read his contributions, and not only had he blocked people in advance over, which is obviously that's his call, it's his social media account, but he continued to block people during the event, really against the spirit of the entire thing. He really read the situation wrong. And I do hope, Paul, that if word of this does reach you, please take what I've said in good faith. But I believe everything I've said. I stand by that. But
he will never give any thought.
Do you know what though? He really has been the bad wolf for that because he destroyed that whole lovely. We were together again for a little while there, but I actually thought at the time he's pitching for a job with Chibnall.
That's what I thought. For his sake, I hope he gets a bloody script out of these.
Make a big comeback, and that brings me to my final pick for companion of 2020. It might seem like a weird one. But in another way, in another way, it seems like the most natural thing in the world. Yes, the last pick is this guy, David Tennant, for one of the companions of 2020. David Tennant and the 10th Doctor made a blazing comeback in all that associated media this year. Comics, books, audio dramas, the lot. He pushed in through those blue double doors, said to everybody else, pretty much just hold my beer, whoever you are, and took centre stage of the franchise again. Of course,
he had to, because the franchise was imploding. It was an act of desperation.
Absolutely. And the impact hasn't been...
Everybody won. We won as fans. We started getting better material. He's brilliant in Out of Time. The marketers... The people who are marketing the stuff, they're bound to have got a push for it by having his face on various things, aren't they? He got a push. He got to reconnect with the character that he was born to play. And, it just made it feel like the last 10 years didn't seem like they were an ice age ago. Is it just me? I think this is a positive.
It's just you.
I think it's a positive thing. I think David Tennant didn't have to get as involved as he did. Okay, lockdown helped because he was at home. You got nothing else to do, had you, Dave? We get it, but he did. He did it with a full heart, and reached out to the fan base again. I've always felt about David Tennant that he's never wanted to be distanced from the part or the fan base or the show, and here he really proved it. He proved what a great ambassador for the show he was and is, just like Peter Capaldi, just like other people could be, and just showed them how it's done really, and kind of took the franchise back.
Well, I'm not too sure about that. I think it's also, part of it, most of it is a marketing gimmick. They know the series is failing. I mean, everything that has been out. I mean, how many times can the 10th Doctor with the so-called alleged 13th Doctor meet and start zooshing around the galaxy. It's just
every time they make a comic book, is that's the answer to the question. Every time they make a bloody comic book, they have to bring like Time Lord Victorious, right? The Titan comic book. They bought the story was completely detached from the Time Lord Victorious story, and in the last 10 pages, they bought the 13th Doctor in for no reason, like no reason whatsoever, other than they don't know what to do without her. Like they can't function without her.
It's as though they have this sort of feeling that anything with David Tennant on may boost sales. I'm not so sure that's actually true these days, because the magazine still doesn't sell anything more. Time Lord Victorious is not as victorious as they wanted it to be.
They took us off. The magazine doesn't sell because they spent the last 3 or 4 years telling us they don't like us.
Yes, well,
a lot of us said, okay, fine.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to say about David Tennant, trying to get it back to some positivity, is that I saw. I never. You're going to hate me for this, but I never desperately rated David Tennant hugely as an actor. In the past, don't get me wrong, I like his performance as the 10th Doctor. I got a bit bored with it. There were. You knew in every episode he was at some point he was going to say, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry," and at some point in the episode he was going to be all manic and it was all going. So I got a bit bored. Mm-hmm. But so I never rated him hugely, although I thought it was a competent performance. But recently, a couple of weeks ago, I watched back to back all 3 episodes of Des. Which is the Dennis Nilsson. It's a bit grim, this is, but it's the Dennis Nilsson mass murderer documentary drama. On ITV, and he is absolutely riveting throughout. Mm-hmm. And I came away from that series with an entirely new respect for him as an actor, and I realised that maybe looking at his Doctor Who run with the Tom Baker years. Tom Baker as an actor and the character of the 4th Doctor develops a heck of a lot from Robot to Logopolis.
Yes.
Whereas with the 10th Doctor, they didn't develop him. What you see in the first episode is what you get in the last episode. And I think that was a mistake. I think they needed to develop him a little bit.
Yeah, you've pointed that out to me before, and you are right.
When I look at Des now, I see, wow, this guy has got some really good acting chops that, if anything, I don't think were actually exploited as much as they could have been. You're right, Doctor. He's brilliant in Des. If anybody hasn't seen Des, go and watch it. He will rivet you for 3 hours. He's incredible.
I haven't seen Des yet, but I will watch it at some point, Simon. But do you know what? You talking to me there resonates with me, because I didn't really rate Tennant as the Doctor until his last year when I got it, when I just thought, oh, that's what he's doing with it, and then he had a companion, the wonderful Catherine Tate, who bounced off it. But I also think what you're saying there as well is, as an actor, he's learning through age of experience. And there's another point that maybe we can talk about another time, about perhaps he was too young for the role. Because look at Smith. Look where Smith is now. He's incredible because he's learned his trade. He's learned his game. He's an incredible character actor. And that's a good and interesting topic for later on to say, should doctors be that young? Should, I mean, look, what you mentioned, Tom, there, we actually saw him learning his trade through 7 glorious Doctor Who years. Absolutely. And even at the end, and we know the stories about the end, but he could have gone another couple of years, to be quite honest. If he wanted
to, he could have, yeah.
And he was still surprising us. Tom was still surprising us at that point, whereas David had stopped surprising me. I knew every week exactly what I was going to get with David, so it just got a bit samey. But as I say, seeing Des,
I think because Matt was very, very young, I think Matt really got hold of it from day one.
But look where he is now as an actor. If you've seen him in things like The Crown and stuff like that, he's magical. I mean, because he's learning his trade and he grabs a part, and because he's one of the last remaining character actors of his generation, of British culture, he gets it, and he can really. I'd love to see him as the Doctor now. He was
established actor before he became the Doctor. He started in a lot of stuff on the BBC, and I've seen him a lot of stuff.
He really did. He was popular, and it was to his credit that his talent shone through, because he knew what he was going to do. But what I'm trying to allude to is the fact that if he goes back into that role as a 40-something-year-old, if he had that opportunity to do another couple of series, my God, how special would that be?
Well, interestingly, also, I saw Matt Smith recently in a film that I think is on Netflix. I think you can go and get popular on Netflix called His House, which is a really scary, spooky horror film. And Matt Smith only has a cameo in it of 3 or 4 scenes. But you're right, JT. He's brilliant in it. Now, again, Matt Smith, it's not that I don't rate him as the Doctor. I just don't get desperately excited about him either. Whereas, again, these brief cameos that he does in His House, he's really, he shows a completely different side to the side he showed as the Doctor, which again shows a very versatile actor. And again, I just like to see, I think in many ways, one of my problems with that whole era of Tennant and Matt Smith is both Doctors are played very much the same. They're very manic. There's lots of whirling. There's all hands. It just all gets a bit manic. I like it when the Doctor comes down a little bit, which is why I like, for example, season 18 of Tom, where he gets very, very dark and it's very down and it's very quiet and it's very restrained performance. I prefer understated, restrained performances. And that's what Tennant gives in Des, and it's what Matt Smith gives in His House. That's what I'd like to see a bit more of in Doctor Who, actually, to be honest. A bit more gravitas, a bit more seriousness.
We've got Derek Paul Brady watching, and he says Matt is so charismatic and magnetic. Yeah, I think he always was.
Yeah, I thought
as the Doctor.
By the way, speaking of season 18, I've just finished rewatching Keeper of Traken. I always had a problem with it. It's a great story, but I've always had one problem with it. I never understood what the hell was the Melker, and like, are there lots of them? Is one of? I finally worked it out.
Yes.
I've written a piece of headcanon. If you Melker is a weeping angel, which is attracted to.
Well, can I correct you on that? Because, of course, the writer there, that particular Melker in The Keeper of Traken, as we all know, which was actually in studio this day in the 80s.
You're full of facts today.
Yeah, I am. Oh my God, where's that all coming from? But anyway, the Melker in The Keeper of Traken, as we know, was one of the Master's TARDISes. So that's there. However, Johnny Byrne, who was a fantastic gentleman with a very, I don't know if you ever met inside, but he had a very sort of, he was a bit wicked with his humor when he wanted to be, especially with a wee gin, by the way, or wee whiskey, you know. But he had originally with JNT, because that story had looked beautiful and it was received well and it was lavish, there was going to be a sequel of Planet of the Melkers.
Correct.
And the Master would have been said to have based one of his TARDIS forms on these Melkers that lived on this particular planet outside the Traken Union. It never came to fruition, but when Johnny was sort of telling us, me and a few mates, about what was in his head, I thought, damn, we were robbed. And Big Finish will probably nick that now and try and produce it.
The story appeared in Doctor Who magazine in the early 90s, didn't it? With a couple of really nice illustrations and things like that. They made a really nice job of it.
Can I ask you to share this screen?
Yes, of course.
I'll answer your question.
Ooh.
There we are.
So there you go. It's
the Guardians of Prophecy. That's it.
Sorry?
Was that written by Johnny? Oh, it was written by Johnny. Oh, my God.
It's written by him. They adapted it. Jonathan Morris adapted it, who's a pretty good writer.
I've got that and I'd forgotten about it.
There you go.
It's about 10, 12 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, this takes you back. Oh, my. I
can't
can't believe that. I mean, you know, I remember it was a convention that he was telling us about this thing. But to see that, oh, God, that really hits. Oh, wow.
Yeah, but you know what? It probably wouldn't have been that great. I mean, look, I like Colin Baker's performance, generally speaking, but I in hindsight, I just think it was the relationship between Eric Saywood and John Nathan Turner that really produced terrible Doctor Who.
Well, that's interesting, Rabbi, if I may, as well, because I was under the impression I've not seen that, so that's interesting. And you're right, that's Colin and Nick as Perry. But the story would have been for Peter, Nyssa, Tegan, and maybe Adric. I'm not sure about that. It was written, as far as I'm aware. I got the impression it was written.
In Doctor Who magazine, it was for Colin and Nick O'Brien.
It was for
interesting.
Perry. Yeah. So I don't know when the revision came there.
If it happened, or it might have just been Johnny, thinking that's where it would have been, because it would have been a direct sequel to Keeper, which. Because I'm sure. Well, anyway, there you go. But that's interesting seeing that. They've already done it.
Deep dive.
But the design.
I'm on another podcast in 54 minutes. I have to bounce.
We're gonna. Oh, blimey, I can't.
Did you ever see
We're going to wrap up
Blackpool exhibition, Simon? Or Longley? Yes. Wasn't it gorgeous?
Fabulous.
It was really.
It's
beautiful. Shut us up now.
It's a beautiful design. I think everything about the Keeper of Traken is beautifully designed. And Melka fits into that so well. And it's got this spooky romanticism about it. And the fact that I've never quite understood, just like you've said there, Rabbi, I've never quite understood it either. And that's part of the charm for that entire story.
I'm going to phone you and explain what that is. Oh, look at that! Where do the batteries go in there?
I've never seen one of those.
This is one that's
going to hurt coming back out.
In the garden. The Proctors are watching after this one.
I love that. Send it over to me via the Spacebook.
Yes, Spacebookers. It's all been kicking off here. We're going to wrap up in a moment. There's one more person I want to talk about, but this is just a reminder. If you haven't already, like the video. Come on, it's Doctor Who Day. We're here sweating. We're here sweating through conversations here. We're talking about the companions of 2020, which are mostly not going down that well. But we're pushing on with it. But yeah, we need more likes. I know there's been a lot more than 23 people out there watching. Yeah. Hit the like button.
I'm going to hit the like button now.
And hit it again. And then subscribe to the channel, because you're not going to want to miss the regular Type 40 live shows, all the podcasts, all the other stuff that's coming up. But yeah, just to wrap us up, I do want to talk about one other person in Doctor Who history to take us full circle, because for me, I've thought more about him this year than I have probably since the anniversary year. And it didn't originate from a very good place, I must admit. But it has made me go back to his performance, to appreciate it all over again, to see different nuances in it, completely new things that I don't think I'd noticed before, or appreciated how well he was doing what he was doing. And yes, there is a hashtag Hartnell first. If you saw, you know why that hashtag's so important. But this is why, the last nomination for one of the companions of 2020, even though he's no longer with us, he's been gone for nearly 5 decades. But yeah, I'm going to offer up William Hartnell as my final pick. And here he is, the late great William Hartnell.
The Doctor, ladies and gentlemen, the Doctor.
But he'll never, ever be forgotten, and he will never be replaced as the first Doctor. That will always stand. This modern mythology is too precious, and the mark that he made is too indelible. It is absolutely crucial to the foundation of this show. It's absolutely crucial to the generations of people that have found it afterwards, that have read about it, that have watched it over and over and over again. A few weeks ago, I talked about the story of the Ark. That was one of my picks when we did the whole 12 Faces thing. And that was a playful pick by me. But there are so many other stories. You see this character evolve so beautifully in the way that you were talking, Simon, a minute ago about David Tennant. As much as I love David Tennant in the part, you're right. But across 3 seasons, Hartnell's character evolved, didn't it? It's year by year.
It evolved enormously. And of course, what's really interesting about Hartnell's performance that he gets right, that is often overlooked, is the fact that in those first stories, he's actually quite dislikable. He's quite an acerbic, racist character. But he gets it absolutely 100% right, because you don't dislike him as acerbic.
Yes, exactly.
You still love him.
I think what it was that they was the first time the Doctor was created. So he was this ratchety old man that owned this time traveling thing, and he seems to be secondary to everybody else. But as it went on, it was obvious that he was the star of the show, and then he became nicer. And
you could actually say, though, that's part of his character, because the backstory wasn't there, and he was Hartnell's Doctor was the Doctor of mystery.
That's right.
And you saw things outside of his point of view, and he set the ball rolling for the whole 26 years, because what happened after that was, of course, the Doctor adapted to the fact of these pesky humans around him all the time. Right. Wonderful. What a picture as well.
I think it's during that Hartnell era that the Doctor comes to love Earth and to love humans. I don't think I really believe he didn't love them until that point, and he grew to love them.
Well, look at him in the
suspicious
War
of them.
Machines. In the War Machines, he's there. He's battling for humankind. He's trying to save it. I mean, he's just loving every minute in the War Machines.
You make the argument that the War Machines is when the Doctor really becomes a Doctor. I mean, that was the
becomes a hero.
The archetype of the Doctor with the military, which is kind of strange because he's a pacifist. But like especially that scene where the cliffhanger where the War Machines are coming towards them and they're with the soldiers and they run back and he's like standing there.
Yeah,
brilliant.
The Doctor, right? And I think he's just seen that right the way through to Matt Smith to the Capaldi, right?
Rabbi, do you think for decades, most of us are sort of entrenched in this fandom, and for a long time before we had access to all this stuff at the push of a button, we had little footnotes of what these characters were. And Terence Dicks used to say, didn't he? I think quite playfully, really, that William Hartnell played the first Doctor as a grumpy old man because he was a grumpy old man. But I don't think that that's necessarily.
Yeah, apparently, he wasn't.
I don't think that William. That's right, Ian. I'm not really convinced that William Hartnell was that much of a grumpy old man.
I don't think he was a grumpy old man at all. I think he had. Well, let's be honest. He had health issues that probably made him more grumpy than he might otherwise have been. He didn't suffer fools gladly.
Exactly.
He was acerbic. He was a little bit abrasive, but only in the way that, let's say, Tom Baker is exactly.
But also, people forget that he was a stage actor, and he was quite. People really, put him up there, and then he was in his kids show, and he thought it was a demotion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why he was slightly grumpy, because he's like, I'm worth more than this, and now I'm in a kids show. So that's.
But the kids show made him, didn't it?
Exactly.
And he loved the part so much. I mean, and it still breaks my heart to think that in effect he was removed from the show that he loved. He didn't want to go. He knew he'd got to go, but he didn't want to go. And it wasn't really his idea. He was pushed because of his health. There's so many reasons.
Like Peter, you mean?
Breaks my heart.
Kind of like Peter, you mean?
But the problem is, though, of course, it was the best thing for him as a human being, and it is sad, but
it had to be done. But it's still heartbreaking that it had to be done, because had he not had arteriosclerosis, he probably would have gone for another 2, 3, 4 years, kind of thing. There was no again, we've got to remember that there was no intention when they started this show to regenerate him at all. To regenerate him, it would have carried on as long as it carried on, and then it would have ended. So William Hartnell would probably still been there for another good couple of 3 years if poor health hadn't stopped him doing the part.
Well, the quick question is, would we have got a second Doctor?
No,
that'd be the case.
No,
potentially not. No. Maybe not.
Probably not.
Had it run for 6 years, it's possible that it might have sort of run its natural course, and they would have finished it when Hartnell went.
And none of us would be here today on this original day of the first broadcast.
But Vanessa's right. He came to love the part. That's all we need to know. And he did. He just adored that part, and it shows. And that is absolutely what planted the seeds as to why we are still sitting here 57 flipping years later and talking about this. And so we have to hail Billy Hartnell, because
absolutely
why we're here.
Yeah. Here.
The first Doctor.
The gaffer.
I always say that this as well. Full credit to Babel Colour, this beautiful colorized.
Oh, it's that Babel Colour. Hello, Babel Colour. Not seen you for a wee while, pal.
That's one of his pieces. I just think it's gorgeous, and just really, really sensitive enough to highlight the character that he brought to the part, and not to saturate it with colour, just to accentuate it so beautifully. So hashtag Hartnell first. We revere him always, and any anniversary, 57th, people are 57. What's 57? It's not a big one. They're all big ones. They're all big ones in Doctor Who fandom, aren't they? And they're none bigger really than William Hartnell, the man. He created something really, really unique there, really, really timeless and magical. Something that I still believe in, and I think you probably do too. This has been a fantastic live stream podcast, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us this long. It's been a blast. We've got several comments. Cheers, Bill.
Absolutely.
Lovely, says Vanessa.
Do you know what I'll tell you, Dan, as well, seeing as we're on a Monday for this special show, it's a good job we're not clashing with, with Coronation Street coming up. I mean, crikey, this is how Sylvester must have felt. Whoa.
You could be right. But yes, there is something from Emily Cook at Doctor Who Lockdown. Go and check that out now. It's Doctor Who 57. I'm not quite sure what they've put out, but yeah, I will be looking later on, no doubt, and commenting later. There is also This Is Going On. I'm going to play this again for our friends. We've got
Happy birthday,
hashtag and Unearth the
How fabulous. I'm ready.
And that's coming up later on the TARDIS.
45 minutes to go.
YouTube channel.
I know. I guess I have to wait beforehand. I'm in a rush.
No, miss it. Rabbi, thank you so much. Do you want to do your plug? Do you want to plug your stuff? Do you want to plug your wares? Plug your channel?
Oh, really? Fine. Go to my channel. Go to my Twitter. I have a sign up for me. Can I show anything for it, or would you rather I didn't? I don't mind saying that.
We'd better not.
Okay. Although I'm waiting to ask we finished so I can show JT I got to see his expression. Actually, I want to see Simon's expression.
Oh, go on, put it on. People want to see.
Are you ready? I was going to wait to ask.
Go on.
Fine. So I have a Indiegogo coming up. The sign up sheet is in. The sign up for it is in. You go to anywhere. Go to my Twitter. I'm plugging it constantly. But if you the Indiegogo is for 2 comic books. One of them is a genre-tastic one. Yeah, I just
I love that word, genre-tastic.
It is indeed. So yeah, this is
that quickly.
Ethereum. This is a love letter to telefantasy of the 1960s, and it's essentially James Bond, Emmett Till, Patrick Troughton, Doctor Who, the Black Slab from 2001, and a monkey in the spacesuit, all in one.
It's a mashup.
In a mashup. If you get in here, the other book is called Bible Stories, so atheist, creationist, rationalist, and rogues. But I think this one would be more interesting. Now, if you do sign up, you do get a bonus. I have produced 4 art cards, 4 very, very tasteful art cards called For the Male Gaze. For the Male Gaze. Now, the brief of these are my 13-year-old genre-related masturbatory fantasies. My 13-year-old genre-related masturbatory fantasies in each one of these cards. And for this crowd, I think we would recognize and empathize where where this comes from. Now, if the campaign does well enough, we may do some male ones as well. So we have Perry here. We have we're called No Hanky Panky in the TARDIS. We have Party Like It's 1999. We have Keeping the British End Up, and Don't Even Think It, Citizen. You can get any one of those for free with any purchase if you just join the mailing list. But yeah, we'll end on Perry because why not?
Sunning herself there as on looks like it's her birthday. Almost her birthday.
Good lighting in the 1980s TARDIS. I'm sure you could.
You do. I sort of missed that, everybody. But yeah, best of luck with that, Rabbi. And thanks for the advice about all things Kickstarter and Indiegogo, because it is something that, I can see why Ian was, well, what is this? How does this work? Because, it is all a bit weird.
It's where the future made. That's where it's fantastic for people like me. I mean, it's fantastic.
I'd like to, well, this is it. I've got several projects that I might dust off and give a go. But yeah, JT.
Yes.
Today, big news for Omega, big news for classic fans. Very excited about that. I can't believe it. I can't believe that Brian Blessed is back with Doctor Who. All these things are going to be talked about over the next few weeks, no doubt. All those goals. Let's hope they get hit. But I'd like to just take a moment to thank all of you for turning up for this live stream, for sharing Doctor Who Day with all of us and with you out there in the chat. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Do you want to plug anything in while you've got a moment?
Yeah, just go to Rebecca Gold channel. They've got a couple of films on there: Killing Zone, Bad Day, and other stuff. Just
Bad Day's freaking awesome, by the way.
There you go.
Bad
Bad
Day is
Day.
freaking awesome. I love that movie.
Movie,
There you
Bad
go.
Day.
Watch Bad Day when you get the chance.
It's
See how
really
good I
good.
am.
I really
What
like
you could be wondering what we're going to do with all this Companions of 2020 idea. Well, we're going to come back to it for our Christmas show in a few weeks' time. We're going to let you
Mega
pick.
Who.
We're going to let you pick who is the actual companion of 2020. You've seen our nominations. We're going to be running polls in the Type 40 Facebook group and over in the Hoonatics with Simon here. And you can tell us who you think is the true companion of 2020. Who's made your 2020 of those people? Or do you want to throw in a couple of wild cards? We don't really mind. But
Well,
let us
Dan,
know your
I
thoughts.
have an important nomination that I want you to throw up on the screen.
Okay.
There we
I've won the People from the Year for 2020.
Whoever this character
If you
is.
don't love yourself, baby, no one's going to do it for you.
Who's
Go.
stepping on your foot there, mate?
Yeah, that's
hilarious.
it. So we'll be coming back to that in a few weeks' time. But yes, obviously there'll be more Doctor Who live streams. There's lots more going on the channel. What like? Let's have a look. Well, yeah, there's Teleport. Blake 7 podcast doing really, really well. First 2 episodes have dropped. Downloads and streams, great reception. Thank you again. And of course, there's the Type 40 podcast itself available in all those places and back in just a couple of days' time for a brand new episode. The start of our 3rd season proper with me and him and Starry-Eyed Girl. Yeah, and lots of other new things. Yeah, that does wrap us up for now. That's the time rotor starting to whirl. Listen, look out for the next Type 40 wherever you've found this, on Apple Podcasts, for example, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, or Spotify. And yeah, don't forget, over here on YouTube, stream Type 40 and Type 40 Live. And you can find the podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network's own YouTube channel. Subscribe there, turn on the bell so you get the notifications there too. You can get in touch. Email us at type40doctorwho@gmail.com. There's Twitter and Instagram at Type40 Doctor Who. If you're feeling lucky, you could always try those Facebook groups. It's the Type 40 Facebook group. And there's the Hoonatics, where it's all kicking off. Both places on a daily basis. Take part in our little polls we've got coming up. I'm scattered across all of space and time, but mostly on Twitter and Instagram as the Spacebook, where I'm rambling away about whatever catches my eye, imagination, or both in popular culture, whether it's Doctor Who Day or not. There's links to everything in the show notes and in the description. Happy Doctor Who Day. One more time. Hashtag Doctor Who Day. Hashtag Hartnell first. I'm getting the hang of hashtags. Who'd have thought it? After
I don't know what they are.
5 years. Yes, we'll always have the time if you have the space here on Type 40. But yeah, thanks for joining us for Doctor Who Day. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Like
Bye-bye.
the channel.
Bye-bye.
Like the channel. Like the channel.